The order of reason spreads its wings, and the world burns. We tell ourselves this is for enlightenment. We tell ourselves this is for the greater good. We tell ourselves this is for humanity. We lie to ourselves. The great engines of the empire are all consuming beasts, heedless of anything but their own hunger, for riches, for lives, for land. Everything befalls before their advance. Nations are ground to dust. histories torn apart and set aflame, treasures seized and their secrets plundered. We will chain the world in all its magical wonders. Who will stop us? Welcome to Skilamalink, a tale about Mage the Ascension and the Victorian Age. We are Vorpal Tales, and we play terrifying tales and awesome adventures every day of the week. If you're fans of Mage the Ascension, come experience our chronicle White Walls every Sunday at 9 p.m. on our Twitch channel, link appearing momentarily. If it's the dark and scary that calls to you, we have Deviant the Renegades on Saturdays, and if it's fantasy you crave, we have Scarred Lands on Fridays. Be sure to check out our website, vorpaltales.com, to see the complete calendar, including all of our other non-Onyx Path games, recaps of shows, and the links to our past archive on YouTube. You will also find links to all our social media there and our Patreon. Be sure to click follow on Twitch so you can get notified of shows. And if you check out Onyx Path or Vorpal Tales YouTube, subscribe and hit the bell. Special thanks to Onyx Path Publishing and White Wolf for gifting us the World of Darkness and all the support they offer us. Thanks to Astral Tabletop for the awesome virtual space we use to play all our games, and to Nate Mid from right here at Vorpal Tales for our custom Astral Tabletop character sheets that you all can use too to play Mage the 20th Anniversary Edition on Astral Tabletop. Awaken extraordinary gentle beings. Tell us who you are as well as the name of your character in this tale.
Hello, my name is Rachel. You can find me everywhere on the internet under the handle Stolen Fires. And I will be playing Maisie Westenraw, who very much misses her sister Lucy.
Hey, I'm at Spacelord PJs. You can find me on the internet at Spacelord PJs. Wow, crazy. I'm going to be playing Murdoch Jones, Steampunk Mage.
Hello, everybody. Oh.
That's okay. Hey, everybody. I'm Ever. My pronouns are they, them. And tonight I shall be playing Ethan Jones. No relation to Murdoch Jones. And I will not be a mage. As a matter of fact, I will be a Corvus shifter.
Hello, everybody. I am Steve. You can find me on the internet at Voodoo Arcade. And tonight I am playing Arthur Westenra? Sir Arthur Westenra. Westenra. Who misses his daughter, Lucy, very much.
Hello, I am Kisama. You can find me on Twitter at TrueKisama. I'm coming over here from Thursdays, on the Thursday Chilling Tales, to play Geoffrey Wellington, academic and analytical reckoner.
And I am Dwayne. You guys can find me on the internet at Made of Kimchi, and tonight I will be playing Dr. Otto Lyle.
All right. Now that you know who we are, let's venture into the foggy streets of London and begin telling the story. Skilamalink. So, first off, we should talk about cool Victorian Mage stuff, because people want to know. It's live on Indiegogo right now. It's been live since this afternoon. I already spent way too much money on it, and you all should too. It's amazing. And no, they're not stopping Kickstarters. They're just trying something new, see how it works out. Do more than one way to publish an awesome book. Go check it out. Even before they get to any stretch rewards, you can buy a whole pile of awesome add-ons. I think named NPCs and artwork are sold out. However, you can still get signed, autographed bookmarks, the hardcover itself, of course, deluxe edition, and GM screen. So definitely go check it out. Get it well taught. So we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about Mage the Ascension 20th Anniversary Edition in general, because that would take 2 sessions just to get through the basics. But in this game, for you as the players, and for anyone watching who is new to the experience, we will not be getting lost in the weeds of figuring out spellcasting for all of the players in this show who are new to Mage. I'm going to be doing for them with my handy-dandy digital Chrome extension card that will figure out dice, and they can just say the cool things they want to do and describe how they use their focus and practice. Except maybe for Rachel. We'll see.
What? Why am I getting picked on?
Because you know what you're doing. However, we are going to talk specifically
So mean.
about Victorian Mage changes as they pertain to the players in this game, as we'll give all of you watching at home a nice, juicy glimpse into the awesomeness that is this book, so it'll entice you even more to want to check it out. So, let us begin. The Victorian era, 1837 to 1901, was a turning point for Magi across the world. Previously, the Magi of the Order of Reason had spread their unifying paradigm across most of Western Europe and had made no more than minor inroads anywhere else. However, this was a time of massive colonial conquests by many Western European nations and the westward expansion of the United States. The Order of Reason encouraged and benefited from these conquests as their paradigm spread to most of the colonized nations and peoples. In addition, many of members of both the Chorus Celestial and the Order of Hermes at least passively supported these imperialist conquests. This was also the era when members of the traditions and of countless crafts scattered across the world first understood the magnitude of the threat posed by the Order of Reason in their paradigm. A growing number of Magi opposed the colonial conquest of the Order of Reasons, or the Order of Reason's paradigm, saw the value and later the absolute necessity of joining forces with other Magi to attempt to preserve their freedom and often their lives. Most traditions and crafts remained relatively disorganized, both internally and externally, but near the end of the Victorian Age, some began working together to combat the Order of Reason's encroaching strength. One of the unfortunate truths of this era is that for many traditions and crafts, and for the majority of peoples who were conquered in colonial wars, it was a time of great tragedy. Despite many valiant attempts at resistance, the armies of imperialist governments almost completely exterminated entire peoples, like the inhabitants of Tasmania, and successfully destroyed whole cultures, languages, and crafts. European colonizers forced others to change in drastic ways in order to survive in the new and rigidly limited world the Order of Reason helped to create. In addition, nations like Som, how do you say that, Dwayne? Som, I don't know how to say that one.
Wait, what?
Siam.
Right.
Siam?
Thank you. Which successfully avoided conquest often had to change their culture in drastic ways so as to appear more European, and thus more civilized to Western European elites. As imperialist conquest continued, members of the Order of Reason advised colonial governors, missionaries, and robber barons about the necessity of combating dangerous superstitions, while also doing their best to either kill or discredit the indigenous Magi they encountered. Some of these latter Magi were able to slow or even stop the advance of the colonizing forces. Others learned to adapt advanced Western technology to their own uses, rejecting the Order of Reason's false claim that technological progress required submission to the technocratic union's control. A few nations were even able to throw off the yoke of colonial oppression. Several decades before the start of the Victorian era, Haitian slaves drove out the French landowners who had previously enslaved them. Early in this era, Afghani soldiers almost completely wiped out the British forces during the First Anglo-Afghan War. In both cases, local Magi assisted in these victories and managed to temporarily halt the advance of both colonial oppression and the Order of Reason's paradigm across their lands. For most tradition Magi who opposed imperialism and worked to halt the Order of Reason's advance, complete or lasting triumphs were rarely possible. Most large-scale efforts at open resistance failed badly, like the Chinese Boxer Rebellion. However, Magi frequently won small victories that provided time for themselves and the cultures they were part of to adapt to the changing world. Fending off conquerors and oppressors for long enough might not halt the spread of the Order's paradigm outright, but it could offer a chance at survival. Ever, tell us about the cost of technological progress.
Blood, sweat, and tears. No, just kidding. Sorry. The cost of technological progress. In Western Europe, the Order of Reason is solidifying its hold on the paradigm and the hopes and imaginations of sleepers. The result is a self-reinforcing system built on vast amounts of natural resources stolen via imperialist conquest. The Order of Reason develops or copies inventions like steam engines, percussion caps, electric light, and surgical anesthesia. It then popularizes these technologies, which in turn astound and excite many sleepers, making them more open to future paradigm-altering inventions in what becomes a feedback loop. For the first time in human history, Magi are able to alter the paradigm with both sufficient speed and over a large enough area that sleepers began to see technology advance in substantial ways within a decade or two, rather than over generations or centuries. The Order of Reason's connections to imperialist governments allows them to swiftly introduce new inventions all across the globe. Resistance. Resistance to conquest and oppression is one of the central themes of this era. Across the globe, imperialist forces conquer and oppress indigenous peoples, while these same peoples struggle to preserve their freedom and their way of life. However, oppression and resistance aren't limited solely to colonized peoples. In a very real sense, much of the history of the Victorian era is the history of a relatively small number of exceptionally wealthy Western European men extracting vast sums of wealth from everyone else. In Western Europe, income inequality soared during the Victorian era, and until the 1880s, the lives of the European poor and working class were, at best, no better than they had been at the beginning of this era. Imperialism. By the second half of the 19th century, even sleepers using completely mundane technologies could, in theory, completely circumnavigate the world in less than 3 months, permitting a level of travel and contact with distant and radically different cultures never before possible for anyone except powerful magi. The vastly increased speed of travel and the potential for cross-cultural contact that came with it could have ushered in a new era of wisdom and understanding. However, the Order of Reason and a disturbingly large number of sleepers had little interest in peaceful contact with distant cultures. Instead, one of the hallmarks of the Victorian era was imperialism. Tone, a gaslit mystery. The tone of Victorian Mage can be called gaslit mystery, a merging of industrial technology that illuminates the darkness, and of the secret things which even such artificial light cannot fully reveal the shape of. You could express this gaslit element a number of ways. As the traditional atmosphere for Victoriana thrillers, as the innovation that transformed a world lit by elemental fire into one illuminated by man-made technology, as a hazy and often toxic light source that blackened walls and filled buildings with poisonous fumes, even as the metaphorical gaslighting that occurs when an abuser manipulates his quarry into a false reality of his own design, a term that comes, in fact, from a Victorian-set melodrama called Gaslight. Historically, the coal-fueled gaslight marks the end of the earlier colonial era and the rise of the industrial one before giving way to the even brighter artificial light of electricity. Although, you won't find such gaslit streets in the Great Plains or Sahara Desert, the image of gaslights glowing amid London fog remains an archetypal feature of Victorian adventures.
Thank you. The world of the awakened is vast. The horizons of Earth give way to the distant stars and the depths of the spirit worlds. In times before, the mystic traditions could dominate the world seemingly on a whim, as magic elevated them above and beyond mortals. The Council of Nine stood at the heart of the traditions, offering unity of magical practices, and so mighty as to seem beyond challenge. Hubris walks hand in hand with power. Then the impossible happened. A tradition fell, 9 became 8. The mystical significance shattered, and none of the great and powerful on the council knew what to do. Though engaged in a rabid flurry of activity, proclamations and arguments about the tragedy that had befallen them for months and then years, they did nothing. What had been legendary became disconnected. They ignored and neglected growing threats. Amid the haze of self-absorption, bickering, and doubt, wickedness crept in. As an English king lay on his deathbed in 1837, new tragedy struck. 3 of the masters of House Tharsis perished, each consumed in green flame. Days later, unknown assailants attacked the Verbena witch, Brianna Nilug, in the tradition's horizon realm of Three Grove, inflicting a venom that none of the guardian druids could cure. An army of steam-powered metal men attacked the headquarters of the Knights Templar. In Washington, D.C., a pair of Chakravanti fell into an ambush, their target slain at the cost of both falling to Johor. In Concordia, the protections failed for a moment as a series of ritualistic murders brought infernal entities into the council chamber. Cassius Ruin of the cultist Ecstasis and Jabal of the Dream Speakers died in the resulting struggle. Cassius suspended the moment of his death long enough to whisper his last words to Casatori Bianca Ginelli, who immediately left Concordia for Earth. As Victoria takes her crown and the British Empire blossoms with technological might and scientific bounty, the traditions who have held to a world of wonders and dangers in an age filled with magic are scattered and fractious. The Ascension War began 4 centuries before, but paid little more than lip service by many awakened for a long time, and has suddenly heated up into a deadly and desperate conflict once more. The Order of Reason rises alongside the newly crowned empires of the world, seeking to end the traditions in their unsound ways, and to protect humanity from itself and from the horrors of a world unbridled. Make no mistake, the Ascension War burns hot. The reach of the Order of Reason through its imperial interrelations touches almost every corner of the world. The consensus, once a far more limited phenomena for Magi to exploit in their will workings, becomes more global in its reach and impact. Paradox closes in on the traditions in many crafts, a factor the Order of Reason seems to be able to mitigate easily or outright ignore. As the traditions feel the shackles of consensus drawing around them on Earth, so their methods in the war for reality change. This comes more easily to some than others. A small advantage to the traditions in the wake of the rising paradox against their art is the obsession. This sweeps the British Empire and most of Europe with occultism, secret societies, and the strange outlandish tales of faraway places now falling under the yoke of empire. Hand in hand with science and technology, the gentry and rising middle classes of England all too readily sup up seances, tarot readings, and tales of Masonic orders, with roots in private education institutions and the nobility. The traditions seize upon these for methods in which to wrap their workings when they must, and root the possibilities of such notions firmly into the minds of the masses. As the Order of Reason's paradigm comes to rule and establishes the mass consensus, so too do cunning magi alter small parts of it in discreet but specific ways. Let's talk about our characters. Stephen's character is Chakravanti. Let's hear from him first, telling us about the Chakravanti in the Victorian era.
Yes. So, in India, the Chakravanti are almost overwhelmed by the burden of death they have taken upon themselves. The Johor is a very real danger, and as the world slips deeper into chaos and suffering, the duties of the Euthanatoi. Euthanatoi?
Euthanatoi.
Right?
Close.
One more time?
Euthanatoi.
Euthanatoi. Grow by the day, the loosely organized tradition must face the fact that too many of their number have succumbed to the darkness they carry. Hidden in the Indian wilds is a forgotten city which has no name. At the heart of the city is a titanic statue of a wheel made of interlocking arms reaching out from the central point. This is the Chakravanti touchstone, where one weighed upon by Johor may come and face the judgment of the self. Those who pass return to the world to take up their burden anew. Those who fall do not return at all. The flash of a knife, the flare of gun smoke, the final crimson spray that marks the end of one life. The great wheel turns. A fraction more as a necessary death clears the way for it to spin. The secret is that life should improve the world with every incarnation, and that death should leave the way clear for better things. The first does not always happen, but the second is inevitable. The dutiful burden of the Chakravanti is in ensuring the inevitable is just so, and that it comes at its due time to the most deserving. The mystic arts of death are their providence. Kismet draws them towards their deserving victims, those whose lives poison the world and make it weaker, poorer, or broken in some way. Bad karma catches up with people, and when it does, it is wearing the face of a Euthanatoi. The Chakravanti are tradition bound together by the heavy burden they take on themselves and by the blood-spattered paths they must walk down. doing what is necessary to keep the cycle in flow. Many cultures around the globe have their own whisper of shadowy organizations that bring death to the deserving, but some people are not often seen as heroes, rather as entities to be feared, working in accordance to their own sense of justice, rather than the morals of a society. As such, the Chakravanti, while at their most prominent throughout India, Asia, and Africa, exist everywhere. They vary in aspect as wildly as the cultures in which they dwell, and now conceal themselves within. The Order of the Black Widow and the many cults in India use disparate technologies and details of philosophy, as do the Feather of Mott and the roots of Yggdrasil. Yet, they are unified by their dedication to what must be done, and the terrible price they must pay to do it. Affinity Spheres are entropy, life, or spirit. Focus. Their keen understanding of the cycle of the Great Wheel makes the Chakravanti masters and servants of fate and fortune, while the turning of the cycle, so their art is gathered and unleashed, making the improbable certain and destroying any surety their targets may have relied upon. That's not what that says. Sorry. With belief in a born and destined duty, fueled by a thanatic burden that forms the paradigm of the tradition, the Chakravanti mix the practices of crazy wisdom, high ritual, and martial arts with fragments of faith and shamanistic practices. Tools include sacred places of reflection, blood spilling, weapons, and any tool of chance that comes to hand. We kill the people who need to be killed to make the world better. But we sad about it.
We will talk more. That's pretty accurate summation, actually. We will talk more about Steve's character soon, but suffice to say, his character is an English gentleman of some status in society. However, he was a man of adventure and spent his time on safari in India and Africa, and while in India became disillusioned with the way Empire was treating the people and ended up joining their rebellion.
Correct. Seeing firsthand the atrocities of imperialism, he has abandoned that idea and that part of himself.
Next, let's hear about our only other our second member of a tradition, Dwayne.
Ah, yes. I. Resting high atop a New England coastal bluff is an old stone tower, an edifice most out of place compared to the modern buildings of the cities that grow around it. The common onlooker would see only grass, rock, and sea spray, as enchantments of the most cunning nature shroud the tower from casual observation. One must know what they are looking for to find it. This is the Order of Hermes, Chantry of Wayshrine, guarded by House, gonna mess this up, Shae? Sure. And it holds
Normally I can answer all your mage questions, but on that one, yeah.
Yeah, we're going with House Shae. Shae. And it holds a grand treasure. The Order of Hermes is not actively at war with itself, but internal tensions are high despite the fact that it's one of the most politically homogeneous traditions. Sorry, I can't read. Most members are men and women of Western European ancestry who are well-educated and middle class or wealthy. In addition, most members live in cities, and it's one of the most patriarchal of the traditions. The bulk of members are men, and women who wish respect or to hold important offices must work substantially harder. The Order's greatest tension is between older and more traditional members and the more radical members, most of whom are younger. Some of the traditionalist members are many centuries old, and most are upper-class white men who are increasingly out of touch with the changing nature of the Victorian world. Many have difficulty understanding that personal fealty is now less important than wealth or official position. Despite having no love for the upstart technocrats of the Order of Reason, both old and young members of the Hermetics share some of the attitudes of the Order of Reason, including at least a mild disdain for the accomplishments of Magi from other traditions, and especially Magi who are not light-skinned people of Western European ancestry. However, the traditionalists and the radicals diverge substantially as to how they think the Order and their nation should deal with non-European nations and their inhabitants, especially now that there are both ancient manuscripts and modern lectures and pamphlets on Western ceremonial magic. Anyone who is literate can learn this style of magic and awaken. However, the Order of Hermes rarely seeks out these self-taught magi, unless they are well-educated members of the middle or upper class who have connections that bring them to the Order's attention. Instead, most recruits are either academics who begin to dabble in the magic they are studying, Freemasons, or members of one of various societies and private clubs devoted to the study and practice of ceremonial magic that have become popular all across Western Europe. Members of the Order keep track of these various orders, clubs, and other more or less secretive societies, like the Order of the Golden Dawn. They use their connections in such groups to provide invitations to special parties and lectures to individuals who show signs of awakening, and have what the observers consider to be appropriate attitudes and breeding. My Affinity Spheres, force has always been the Order's primary focus. In this era, spirit is also relatively common, and some members favor matter over the fall of the
Salaficati.
There you go. For focus, a mechanistic cosmos, cosmic order, and earthly chaos, and tech holds all answers are the most common paradigms. But bring back the Golden Age becomes increasingly popular in the later Victorian era. The core of Hermetic practice is high ritual magic, but alchemy, art of desire, and dominion are also popular. I don't know why I had such a hard time reading it.
It's a tough one. We're doing this in one take, guys.
Dwayne's character is a doctor with few limits. So that'll be interesting. So which of those paradigms are you going to focus on, Dwayne? Pick any one.
Probably earthly chaos.
Bring back Golden Age probably won't. Yeah. Okay, I'm for it. And last but not least, our final member of a tradition, Rachel.
Hey. The Arcanabula Victus is a mighty tome, thick with pages of wisdom of the ages. Penned at the dawn of creation, bound within its pages are the names of all things. People, objects, locations, events, and even moments in time. It is not written with words, but images, overlaying in layers that run impossibly deep into the page. Studying the book may reveal the path to success for whatever problem rests upon the scholar. But understanding the answer, that's the real trick. In 1817, the verbena across the world would gather at over 100 different locations. From Stonehenge to Ayers Rock, the blood witches bring sacrifices to sacred stones. At a signal, fires light and ancient songs entice wild powers. Storms roll, and lightning dances across mountains and plains alike, as the verbena enact their workings from dusk until dawn. This is the Song of the Stones, a preparation for what was to come. Across the world, standing stones, primeval statues, and sacred hills are often places of power and sources of great nodes. Lesser sites, once focuses of primeval worship, are little more than objects of archaeological curiosity in these modern days, except to a verbena who knows the song. With blood spilled on earth and rock and words of power on their lips, the verbena may touch the wellspring of the ancient world. A curse that coils like a cornered serpent and splinters bone, a charm to leave no trail in the woodland, a word to seal a wound in 3 heartbeats, blood spilled upon a sapling's roots to grow an oak overnight, a dance beneath the moon to hear the whispers of ancient stones and the wisdom of when the world was young and whole. A new initiate to the tradition undergoes the sacred rite of death and rebirth as their sense of identity and purpose is torn at and tested. This initiation is bloody and painful and follows, or is interspersed with, periods of long study into old stories and ancient lore. The newly awakened Verbene must find their connection to the raw life of the world that surrounds them, to hear the rhythm of their own heartbeat in the silence of a standing stone, to know what is to be raven and wolf and deer, to know what it is to master all of these things and yet not be apart from them. When this is done, the initiate is one with the coven who have shared these same trials and revelations, and as a result of which the coven's loyalty to one another is almost unbreakable. Affinity Spheres, life, matter, or prime. Focus. The wisdom of the ages are the keys to the art of the Verbene. They have learned to be highly flexible with that knowledge. Tools, symbolic as well as literal, fill the magical arsenal of the Verbene, and the witches learned long ago that a sharp kitchen knife is every bit as good as a thrice blessed athame. Forgotten alphabets and languages, sacred locations and natural formations, flowing with the cycle of nature and releasing the inner nature of self as well as dancing, singing, and revelry, are all among the practices of the Verbene. The paradigm of creation is divine and alive, and a world of gods and monsters are the most common, along with bring back the golden age becoming a more prevalent belief. Knives features the most common tool for the druids and witches, with blood a close second. Potions made in cauldrons and magic symbols painted with enchanted woad onto the skin are also common.
So I know you actually looked through the whole paradigm chapter. What did you pick?
Yep. I really like creation is divine and alive. I'm trying to go for like a classic Wiccan feel with this character.
I like it. Now, Rachel's character is the daughter of Stephen's character, and they are both driven to the same mission we will discuss later. So she is a proper lady of London, but also secretly quite the heathen.
I learned it from my mom.
For the audience, yeah. For the audience, that is but a taste of all of the awesome information in the Victorian book about traditions in that era. You did not even hear any one complete section. We just picked some choice bits. And a whole section on paradigm and focus for the era, including expanded ways on how to do practices for things appropriate for the time. It's pretty cool. Okay, now let's talk about the other side. Since the first sparks of the Renaissance, the Order of Reason has sought to usher humanity through the gates of enlightenment. Now, in the wake of the Industrial Revolution, the Order stands ready to transform the world again. Through science and steel, humanity will conquer illness, famine, and poverty. Through the plumes of factory smoke and waste of city life. Though the plumes of factory smoke and waste of city life may cost a few 100,000 lives here and there, luminaries believe this is a sacrifice that serves the greater good. Beginning a new age of prosperity. The Order stands in stark contrast to the superstitious members of the Council of Nine, shunning occultism in favor of furthering scientific understanding of the world. Exploration, experimentation, research, and debate are their tools, and they seek to use them to elevate humanity. Most members of the Order of Reason truly believe theirs is a noble goal. They will kill so many and destroy so much in the pursuit of this shining ideal, and it will still not be enough to forge their envisaged perfect world from the ashes. So in the Victorian era, are they the baddies? Yes. The Order of Reason supports and is complicit in the advance of imperialism across the globe, shackling and exploiting countless people for the sake of an elite few and a grand division of empire. Under the auspices of the Order occur innumerable atrocities, slavery, and brutal conquests. Some luminaries believe in the supposed higher goals of the Order, but for plenty of magi, the brutality and conquest is the point. Even among those magi who hold to lofty ideals of enlightening all of humanity, When presented with the monstrous evidence of what order-backed imperialism looks like, they often choose to ignore it. It's inconvenient to be faced with the truth about what most of humanity goes through, while ground beneath the boot heel of empire. And Order Magi have the privilege to do what so many sleepers cannot. Pretend it is not happening. Many idealist luminaries are cosseted dreamers willingly blind to the price that others must pay on their behalf. You can play Order of Reason Magi who are genuinely good people and who will really fight for humanity rather than trying to shackle and choke it beneath an oppressive regime. But the Order itself fights against those tendencies. Ultimately, a chronicle featuring luminary player characters is likely to be either the darkest kind of horror, witnessing the ravenous machine of imperialism from within, or a story of breaking loose from the Order's authority and rebelling against its monstrous excesses. But make no excuses for the fundamental nature of what the Order of Reason is doing in this age. Many, many, many decades later, the technocracy will perhaps find its way, but not yet. However, there are some shining lights in the darkness. The Guild of Electrodyne Engineers has a nasty faction within its folds that believes in the power of ether and is beginning to disagree with the other members of the Order, and secession has begun to be whispered about. Someday they will become the Sons of Ether. And, of course, a breakout faction within the Guild of Analytical Reckoners does not believe in all of the machinery that is choking the world and crushing societies beneath them, but rather in the pure theory of mathematical genius, the algorithms, the logic. They dream of a day when the whole world can be connected by this theory. A net, perhaps. A virtual net. Let's begin with Sean.
Gasp. So, the Guild of Electrodyne Engineers. Explorers of the new frontier electric, the Electrodyne Engineers, make study of all manner of energy. They have tamed lightning, harnessed the galvanic power of the human brain, and even grasped the primal power of ether. The engineers have achieved things that Alessandro Volta and Luigi Galvani have only dreamed of. Portable flashlights, lightning guns, and even craft driven by electricity. With the sharp rise of an unenlightened understanding of electricity, nothing seems beyond the reach of electrical power. The telegraph has shrunk the world, allowing people hundreds of leagues apart to communicate as easily as if they were in the same room, to say nothing of the communication methods the engineers have at their disposal. Which is not to say that the engineers represent a united front. There is a growing division between the main body of Electrodyne engineers and those working within the barely understood or believed field of ether. A secretive sect within the engineers, the Etherites, hold the cards close. The Electrodyne engineers value practical application as much as they do theoretical work, drawing new members from both academia and backyard tinkerers. Tracking down promising candidates with scholarly circles is simple enough. Lurking in lecture halls and coffee shops, studying people's reactions to new information is often enough to locate minds that hunger for more than the physical world. Those of solitary paths are harder to find, although the Order's increasing control over smithies means that anyone purchasing significant conductive material may find themselves visited by the engineers. Once within the convention, ascending the ranks is only achieved by those who advance the understanding of the frontier electric, by theory or by craft. Inventions must be bold. The soundness of theory is unassailable. An aspiring scientist's work need not be perfect, but unless it outperforms the rest of the engineers, what good is it? Affinity Spheres. Matter, ether, prime, and forces. The focus. Perfection is a process. Only through the rigorous application and testing of a hypothesis can science march forward. A true scientist must be ready to be wrong and to learn from their mistakes. The Electrodyne engineers are applied scientists, working as much in the laboratory as they do in the field. Every moment is an opportunity for experimentation. Every thought is a chance for growth. Engineers go nowhere without multiple tools and experimental devices. Scientific inspiration strikes everywhere, and it would be buffoonery to be left unable to measure, analyze, and test out in the field.
Sean's character is going to be muscle for hire in this adventure, which we'll get to later. And we're not doing a steampunk story, but we can't do Victorian Mage Showcase without some steampunk. So Sean is filling that role. I don't know how many of you have looked at the actual art you can buy on Drive-Thru RPG for Mage the Ascension, but the Sons of Ether is Sean in a nutshell. A metal riveted capsule appears in a burst of electricity. The door is kicked open, and out steps a man in boots and canvas pants with 6-shooters with wires running to his steam-powered backpack, crackling in electricity. That will be Sean.
I also won't do a Victorian mage without being a steampunk mage, so...
And our only other Order of Reason member, Key, tell us about the Guild of Analytical Reckoners.
Yes, the Guild of Analytical Reckoners. With a veritable sea of data to be discovered, information is the new frontier, with so much to be done. Analytical engines are the vessels to navigate this new ocean, and programmers the captains, charting their explorations with every punch card of output. Half engineers and half theoretical mathematicians, the Reckoners come from all ranks of society, the thirst for knowledge being the true agent that binds them together. Lady Lovelace wrote the first sleeper program in 1843, using a complex series of basic arithmetic operations to reveal the secrets of Bernoulli. I think I said that right. Bernoulli numbers, calculating as many of the elusive numbers as she wished in a feat dreamed about by every mathematician since Pythagoras. With such a promising example laid out, the chase was on. Reckoners developed algorithms and programs to calculate other mathematical constants, the terrain beneath the sea, and even unobservable facts about the solar system. Unlike the messy studies of naturalists and other biologists, the virtual world is mathematically perfect, platonic, precise, and predictable to the tiniest fraction, so long as one has the right instruments and knows how to use them. More important than the challenge that Lovelace presented was the impact her paper had on the consensus. By putting the idea of automatic calculation and a virtual world of numbers into the dreams of sleepers, the limits had fallen away. No longer did the Reckoners need to think of themselves as difference engineers. They could tackle any problems that they write an equation for. Largely born from academia, the Guild of Analytical Reckoners maintains a loose hierarchy. Initiates start off as teaching or research assistants, working closely with a tenured professor, although many professors spend little time outside of their laboratories. Assistants who prove themselves capable may be promoted to assistant professors, granting them access to a classroom or laboratory that they share with another assistant professor. Over time, they're granted tenure, becoming full professors, preparing potentials, performing research, or whatever else they wish. Despite a clear separation between levels, many Reckoners have wide latitude to pursue their own research projects, as anyone in an oversight capacity generally has better things to do with their time than to manage someone. Affinity Spheres include matter and time. Their focus is that everything is calculable. The only difference between the possible and the impossible is the mechanistic cosmos. In this mechanistic cosmos is knowing how to do it. To that end, Reckoners enrich themselves with knowledge of all sorts, regardless of whether it has any apparent connection to their thesis. After all, the difference engine was the direct descendant of a weaver's loom, so no knowledge should be discarded. Beyond books and knowledge, Reckoners commonly carry devices to aid in gathering readings and analyzing them, from slide rulers, magnifying lenses, barometers, and good old-fashioned chalk and slate. With the right theory, adequate data, and hard work, there's nothing that can't be done.
Excellent. Key's character is, of course, a tenured professor at Cambridge University who is a good friend of Sir Arthur Westenra. He doesn't like to, leave the building much. You do what you got to do for your friends, right? Especially in their time of great need.
Right.
The last member of our fearsome party are, I don't know, what could we call them? A group? Combine? A league. I like league. Special, awesome, League of Extraordinary Gentle Beings. That's it. Nailed it. Totally coined that. Unique.
League of Extraordinary Mages.
Yeah,
Totally
a
unique.
league of
Last member.
exuberant something.
Lead of
The
exuberant
last member
magi.
is, of course, Ever's character, Ethan, who is not a mage. Gotta have a little variety in this game. So we're introducing a little bit of Americana here from Werewolf the Apocalypse Wild West Expansion 20th Anniversary Edition. Except Ever's not even a werewolf, as you can tell by their background. Ever is a Korax. Some more on that later.
Yeah.
Korax definitely fits thematically with mages very well, especially this story. So, as you may or may not have questions about, some of you being so new to Mage, you're probably wondering, how do we, not mechanically how do we cast spells, but how do we describe doing magic? Do we wave wands? Does Key actually write down on a chalkboard his algorithm and time stops?
I'm
yes
hoping
to
so.
all. So let's discuss. Yes to all. So let's discuss that and how that works in Victorian Mage. Ever, if you would.
I would. But I won't. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. I'm a bad person. I'm so sorry. Anyway, cotton gins and cannon fire. Secret fellowships with esoteric aims. The 19th century vibrates with tensions between tradition and innovation. Magic and the people who practice such arts are not immune to this tension. Indeed, practitioners of enlightened arts and sciences feel the tensions of this era more than most people do. As cities rise and cultures fall, the tide of unseen influence assumes new and potent forms. Though dragons and witchcraft seem dreadfully passé, there's a strong current of possibility running beneath the surging factory grind. In magic, in word and deed, is very much a part of it. For those who understand the hidden struggles of the gaslit mystery era, this age holds a Jekyll and Hyde mystique. One face bears the majestic countenance of industrial progress and scientific rationalism, while the other reflects ancient wisdom and metaphysical understanding. Which is Jekyll, and which is Hyde? That depends upon whose approach you sympathize with most. Regardless of personal preference, the dual nature of this era presents a metaphysical paradox. In an age when factories, mass production, and precision engineering allow advanced technology to overrun a world full of ancient traditions, people also flock to religious revivals, secret societies, occult artistry, and other bastions of mystic thought. The Victorian era posits the idea that scientific rationalism beats mystic superstition, and yet many of those same scientists practice occult disciplines and hold deep religious convictions too. In the Mage's war between materialist tech and magical arts, the 1800s epitomize a tipping point where one might, or might not, slide into the other. Thus, in this age, magic and its consequences assume slightly different forms than the ones we know from the mage books of the 20th and 21st centuries. Although the core rules remain the same, certain details differ.
Let's talk about some of those details now. Victorian Mage replaces the subtle magic and vulgar magic system with something more akin to the time. It uses elegant magic, uncanny magic, and catastrophic magic in place of coincidental vulgar without witnesses and vulgar with witnesses. Mechanically, it's pretty similar. Get the book, you'll find out. Also, in place of paradox, Victorian Mage uses the straits. Reality zones are referred to as territories, and they determine the sorts of magic that are and are not elegant in a particular region. There is no worldwide consensus regarding magic and reality here. So, for instance, in downtown London, a clockwork man would work for sure, and people would accept it. In the middle of the Indian colonies, however, conjuring lightning from the sky works fine, whereas bullets might bounce off the chest of an unarmored person. It all depends on the reality zone that exists at the time, and that's how it works in the Victorian era. As for spheres, data has not yet been innovated, so everyone uses correspondence, whether you're tradition or order of reason. Dimensional science is called cosmologia, and primal utility is known as economic essentialism, or more easily, essentia. So when Sean and Key talk about prime, they'll say essentia. And when they talk about spirit, they'll say cosmologia. Because spirit and prime are superstitious words for the nonsense. As far as elegant, catastrophic, and uncanny magic, in many regards, the Gaslit Mystery era is still very much an age of magic. Despite academic efforts to downplay superstitions, beliefs about God's spirits and the unseen world still dominate the era. Thus, the 20th century contention that there's no such thing as magic does not suit the Victorian Mage period. Instead, three distinctions are used in this setting to mark the challenges and difficulties involved in using sphere magic. Elegant magic evokes the Victorian emphasis on propriety and refers to castings that display grace, subtlety, and cleverness. The polar opposite of vulgar boorishness, elegant magic fits in with its surroundings, suiting the occasion and the localized reality perfectly. Such spells and technologies make as little fuss as possible and do not draw attention to themselves either through scope and scale or through brash violations of what is considered possible. Elegant magic favors small and subtle things. A whispered prayer for healing, a well-timed punch that cracks a ruffian's jaw, the soft scraping of the planchette on a spirit board, and so forth. The literal meaning of occult, hidden, suits this sort of magic. Although elegant magic may work miracles, such miracles fit the prevailing beliefs of the region. A medicine man who calls upon the spirits of his ancestors to bless their warriors with bulletproof skin is using elegant magic. The luminary is stomping on those warriors with a steam-powered automaton is not. In game terms, elegant magic is the easiest form to cast, and the approach that's least likely to invoke straits. You describe what you're going to do in order to employ said magic, and I determine whether or not it's elegant. Characteristics include quiet, subtle, and easily unnoticed. Fits in with the cultural belief of the region, and employs effects that remain invisible. Mental influence, probability, enhanced perceptions, or manipulate forces and phenomena in such ways that seem perfectly natural, or work with unseen forces and entities, and or invoke small yet miraculous things, as if from nowhere, that fit into localized beliefs. Successful use of elegant magic does not invoke the straits, but a botched roll inflicts 1 point of straits. Uncanny magic, however, a little different. Most often perceptible magic in this era is uncanny, strange enough to be remarkable to the average human observer, yet not brash and disruptive enough to seem catastrophic. Uncanny magic is the sort of thing people usually think of when they speak of magic. Calling up a visible ghost or spirit, a human transforming into an animal, whipping back the covers to reveal a man stitched together from the bodies of the dead. Look at you, Dwayne. Such things do seem possible, but leave unawakened people feeling spooked. It's worth mentioning that most people feel uneasy around magic even when they come from cultures where magic is part of the landscape. A yogi laying on a bed of nails seems eerie to people who can't do that sort of thing themselves. Shamans, seers, medicine workers, and mad scientists send shivers up the average person's spine. There are reasons why people burn witches, persecute monks, and drive mad scientists away with torches and pitchforks. The fact that such magic seems possible does not make it desirable, and so, although the local voodoo priestess has people asking her for favors after the sun goes down, the same folk who beg her for gree-gree today might be burning her house down next week. Uncanny magic feels wrong, even though it's not obviously disruptive. This is the kind people notice, and while they might accept its reality, they shy away from its presence. This category also covers magic that steps beyond long-held local beliefs, but does so in subtle ways. Colt revolvers and Gatling guns are uncanny when they first appear in the Wild West, where their effects escalate familiar things to uncanny levels, especially if they're used by luminaries and other magi before such guns are officially part of the historical record. Uncanny magic reflects the metaphysical battlefield of Victorian Mage, where traditional beliefs face increasing and perhaps overwhelming challenges from new impressions about reality. Paradigms and technologies intended to supplant the primitive superstitions of traditional belief struggle through this contested territory. In the Mage of later years, they eventually win, but in Victorian Mage, that dim future might never come to pass. Unlike vulgar without witnesses in regular Mage, uncanny magic is not determined by whether or not someone saw you do the thing. When a hostile reality intrudes upon long-established metaphysical territory, the ripples disturb the fabric of the tapestry, even if no one sees it happen. System-wise, it's harder to do uncanny than elegant, and invokes the straits even when successful. Again, you describe what you're doing and we'll decide if it's uncanny or not. The characteristics of uncanny are obvious and noticeable even if not witnessed. Violates the localized beliefs and or conforms to the local beliefs in ways that sleepers find alarming. And employs effects that clearly exceed what normal people can do. Reattach severed limbs in seconds, shrug off gunfire, turn into a bird. Unless you're ever. Manipulate natural forces in ways that seem unnatural, making water flow backward, lead into gold. Frankenstein's monster. Working with clearly otherworldly forces, invoking Aloha visibly, conjuring visible ghosts. Glowing with the power of God, and or employing small yet obvious feats of what the local culture would consider magic, instant hypnosis, stopping arrows mid-flight, that sort of thing. A successful casting of uncanny magic gets you 1 point of straights, and a botch gets you 1 point plus 1 for each dot in the highest sphere of the spell. Catastrophic magic. Catastrophe means to overturn, and so catastrophic magic overturns reality in frightening and destructive ways. Uncanny magic reflects supernatural feats that appear eerie yet relatively small, but catastrophic magic reflects drastic feats of paranormal might. Summoning a storm from clear skies, transforming into an elephant, turning a person into a mouse, aging someone within seconds with a wave of your hand. These shake reality itself. Although acts of such magic may be part of the local folklore, they're clearly powers beyond the rightful place of man. Unawakened people fearful could command such powers, and they're not wrong to do so. Where uncanny magic inspires discomfort, catastrophic magic inspires terror, even when the caster is one of our own. Spells of this magnitude violate the rules of nature, God, and humanity. In an earlier age, these magics would be considered blasphemously vain. In the Gaslit Mystery era, they marked the caster as dangerous, perhaps too dangerous to live. As with uncanny magic, catastrophic magic remains catastrophic regardless of whether or not it's witnessed. The forces involved rattle the pillars of heaven, and the people who possess them are often punished for daring too much too fast with too little finesse. It's the riskiest and most difficult form to cast. Again, you'll describe it and we'll decide. But the characteristics of what might make it catastrophic are large, obvious, and clearly unnatural, creating radical, large-scale, often devastating phenomena, and employ effects that vastly exceed things people should be able to do. Return clearly dead people to life, grow 6 arms, turn your skin to steel, punch a locomotive off the track, etc. Wrench natural forces in unnatural ways, throwing around lightning bolts, parting the Red Sea, invoking sudden massive destruction, making people explode into ash, turning horses to stone, such things as that. Catastrophic magic earns you 2 points of straights, and on a botch, 2 points plus 2 per highest sphere used. And now to tell us about the straights, the Victorian version of Paradox, I give you Rachel.
The straights, ties that bind reality. Creation is flexible yet strict. Those who flex their own powers must be prepared to be constrained by nature's limitations. In prior years, such constraints would be regarded as backlash, the result of performing magic poorly, and later as an external force, the scourge of God. The future will define them as the result of a paradox when conflicting realities occupy the same space. In the gaslit mystery period, as fear of gods gives way to inquiries about nature, magi and luminaries alike often refer to metaphysical constraints upon their arts as the straits. Literally speaking, strait means strict or pulled tight. The Latin root inspires English words like string, strength, and strain. For magi, the strings of nature constrain the magical efforts of man. By inference, those straits are like a straitjacket binding the magus's limbs, or the narrow straits through which a ship must navigate or be destroyed. Although magi of later eras will often blame such phenomena on one another, a certain degree of constraint has always been present in earthly reality. Without such forces binding it together, creation itself would fly apart. The straits could be viewed as threads in the cosmic tapestry, or perhaps as the tension holding them in place, A magus might pluck at such strings, but if she wishes to disturb the grand design, then she must be careful how she pulls them or where they go. If one pulls carelessly, or worse, takes a pair of scissors to the tapestry, then the design is ruined and chaos results. Different cultures, of course, view such phenomena differently. A musical mystic from China, India, or Greece might view the straits as the dissonance which results when someone violates the divine harmonies. A clockwork artisan could perceive them as flaws in the pattern of the grand design, while a Buddhist monk notes the imperfections of attachment and the vast illusion we perceive as real. Whether it's from bad medicine, infernal influence, or the dire vanities of man, magic that goes too far must be punished, and magi who do so likewise. The straits, under whichever name seems most appropriate, reflect the boundaries of reality and the punishments for pushing them too far. Game systems for the straits. The rules governing the straits resemble the rules provided within the Paradox Effect entry in Mage the Ascension 20th Anniversary Edition. The differences are as follows. As noted above, the straits and their related backlashes do not depend upon unawakened witnesses. Instead, they're based on the degree to which the character messes with the territory governing the local reality. In contrast to the gods-driven nature of the scourge or the existential terror of paradox, the straits tend to manifest as elemental phenomena, sickness of mind and body, or violent forces acting to crush a foreign incursion. Unbelief is not nearly as strong throughout most of the world during the 1800s as it will be in the 20th and 21st centuries. Although the idea of a dragon manifesting in downtown London still seems ludicrous to the average Englishman, the growing awareness about dinosaurs, first noted by Western science in the early 1800s, coupled with pervasive curiosity about strange and distant lands and the people and beasts that populate them, keep people's minds open to such things, even in the most supposedly sophisticated regions. Despite luminaries who hunt and classify them out of existence, mythic bygones remain easy to find in places where those hunters have not yet established what is and is not real. For simplicity's sake, assume that all rules regarding paradox, points, backlashes, the paradox wheel, etc., apply to the straits, unless noted otherwise.
Thank you, Rachel. And now, to tell us, if they can keep themselves together, what happens when the straits come and kick your ass for breaking reality, if you ever.
Oh God.
Good luck.
Whoever wrote this segment, I love you and hate you all at the same time.
It's the best. Yes, it's the best. There's
Those
a lot
damn
more in the book, too. You should get it.
Okay. I've got this. Okay. I'm so sorry. Okay.
Do you want me to read your part ever?
No, I've got it. I'm good. I'm good.
Okay.
I am not laughing at the straits.
It's
Straits?
okay, we can take it.
Straits are laughing at the straits. Don't worry about it.
I'm dying. Okay.
Cure it.
Straits backlash manifestations. Because the straits constrain the effects, and capital E effects, of magic, straits backlashes tend to reign in the rather theatrical expressions of metaphysical disruptions. In contrast to the wild paranormal fits associated with the modern paradox, Victorian mage backlashes favor elemental punishments, uncanny phenomena, metaphysical derangement, and agents of order who chastise mortals who unseat traditions with their pride. The straits enforce the prevailing reality within a given territory. When backlashes occur, they suit the beliefs and temperament of the land and its people. In the most common sort of Victorian-era backlash, an errant magus suffers a sudden misfortune. The environment itself punishes that magus, exploding guns, clouds of scalding steam, malfunctioning machinery, sudden storms, bolts of lightning, swarms of hungry insects, chemical fires, electrical discharges, bison stampedes, and other forms of massive injury. Dog practitioners of the arcane and luminary arts. Mechanized luminaries and reckless alchemists who have have long traditions of expiring and burning windmills or exploding laboratories, while devilish wizards have been known to fall into flaming cracks within the earth that open up and swallow such magi whole. Mysterious disappearances. In the gaslit mystery era, many people simply vanish and are never heard or seen again. Given that this world is filled with unmapped regions and hostile enemies, such disappearances could be considered an occupational hazard of the enlightened arts. An unlucky adventurer might disappear even in the company of her fellow magi. One moment she's there, and the next moment, she's gone. Physical backlashes. Sorry. Building up within a character's metaphysical pattern and then either squeezing it tight or ripping it apart. Straight's energies often manifest during this era as crippling aches, searing pain, eventual injury, and possibly a very gruesome death. Story-wise, such backlashes might appear to be the ravages of disease or exposure, punishment from hostile spirits, crushing pressures, or, to people who find the victim after the backlash occurs, attacks from wild animals. The fate of that legendary steel driver, John Henry, could be the result of an internal Straits backlash when he boosts his strength and endurance past human limitations in order to beat a steam-driven machine. Accounts of magi who faint during rituals, who perish from chronic illnesses, who collapse from internal injuries or get torn to pieces by unseen forces could all be regarded as the aftermath of physical Straits backlashes. Straits apparitions. The most dangerous backlashes invoke strange entities who arrive to put things back in order. Known in the modern world as paradox spirits, such entities deliver poetic justice to magi who disrupt reality and threaten the people who depend upon that reality's coherence. Although some of these apparitions seem stranger than the magic that summons them, most Victorian-era Straits apparitions manifest as people or phenomena that fit into the local environment, strike fear into the targeted magi, or, most likely, both. Demons or angels, furious beasts, vengeful spirits, and raging forces of nature appear most often in territories where magic remains a part of cultural belief, while terrifying gunmen, evil twins, malignant devices, and malfunctioning machines tend to manifest in regions where industrial technology shapes the dominant beliefs. Obviously, it's possible for infamous paradox spirits like Old Man Wrinkle to appear in the Victorian Mage. The shifting sense of possibility in the setting, though, favors apparitions whose concepts suit the themes and cultures of this era. Quiet, the brink of madness. The metaphysical dementia known as Wizard's Twilight has been recorded since at least the European Dark Ages. In the gaslit mystery era, however, such madness seems closer to the surface than usual, perhaps because of this era's obsession with madness and propriety. See below. The chances that an awakened soul might suffer temporary or permanent dementia of a metaphysical nature are quite high in Victorian Mage. Thus, when the Straits tighten around a character in this setting, their effects often manifest as quiet, the metaphysical derangement that can draw a magus into himself or afflict his surroundings with the consequences of insanity.
And to bring it home, Dwayne is going to tell us about territories and how reality zones work in Victorian Mage, very different than modern Mage. Take it away.
What?
Page 21.
Of which book? I have like 8 books open.
No. The thing I sent in advance said you're going to have to read from these parts. The one you told Steve about.
Read bits.
The reading bits.
Okay.
We are very professional with our naming of documents.
Yes, we are, especially when I'm in charge.
I don't think I have a page 28.
I have
one.
Screen
21.
55 to 56 and some viewers.
The last two, Dwayne. It's the last 2 pages.
I have it open if you want me to read again. I don't mind.
Yeah, I have two.
Oh.
We'll let Rachel save us because
there it is.
he found
There
it.
is. I came to the bottom of Rachel's and it was just blank. The whole page was blank. Why there's nothing there? All right, territories. Victorian reality zones. The concepts that no one believes in magic is a 20th century conceit. Although materialistic rationalism begins to spread in the Victorian Age, the idea is no means universal. Throughout the gaslit mystery era, even in the hearts of industrialized empires, belief in magical things remains strong. The Order of Reason, however, is forging a global paradigm based upon its wishes, and part of that effort involves purging its own religious roots in favor of mechanized authority. Thus, the Victorian Mage setting is hotly contested ground with regards to magic of all kinds. Certain forms fit the metaphysical landscape, others clash with it, and although hyperscience is shaping the road toward a technocratic future, that road is rough, uncertain terrain. In future days, this period will be infamous for chartering the unknown and settling the wild spaces in favor of so-called civilization. For the people who have been living in those unknown wilds for centuries, however, this campaign of civilization means conquest and destruction. Understandably, many of those people fight back. In Mage the Ascension, that fight goes poorly. In Victorian Mage, things may take an entirely different path. Gun-toting technomancers can find themselves mauled by spirit bears, or see their bullets bounce off the chest of charging Zulu warriors. The primary struggle in Victorian Mage involves conquering or preserving the metaphysical landscape of territories, reality zones that accept certain forms of magic while rejecting others. Territory zones. The variable nature of reality and consensus in this era is a major aspect of Victorian Mage. Depending on where and when a given tale takes place, the characters can conjure storm spirits in a desert wilderness, trade enhanced fisticuffs in the London fog, or employ ancient Egyptian rites to awaken long-dead guardians or suffer curses from millennia ago. The general sorts of territories within the gaslit mystery setting are as follows. The heartland of empire. All seems right and proper, as the saying goes, with the heartlands of this era's great empires. Theatrical acts of magical power are uncanny at best, and far more often catastrophic. Although occult societies proliferate through any empire of this age, their arts remain confined to elegant subtlety. Industrialized technology, however, is often the pride of such empires. Extravagant acts of mechanized power, clockwork robots, for instance, or death ray cannons, remain catastrophic. But simpler things, motorized carriages, airships, and the like, are uncanny at worst and quite often elegant. Historically speaking, motor cars, locomotives, dirigibles, photography, telephones, electric light, machine guns, and so forth all enter the unenlightened consensus during the 1800s. Although such innovations seem peculiar when they first appear, the human imagination seems willing to accept them as part of a brave and wondrous new age. The occult underworld. Even in modern cities, the gaslit mystery era accommodates hidden magic. Nighttime shadows and hidden spaces harbor seances and alchemy, mystic arts, and other secrets. Decadent parlors, vast cathedrals, catacombs, and forbidden groves. Such areas allow mystic practitioners to use magic with relative freedom and reduce consequences. Enlightened technology, too, works best in concealment. Mad scientists pursue why can I say this word? Abominable experiments, even in the heartland of empire. They must simply be clever and cautious while doing it. The edges of dominion. Empire exerts its influence only so far. In the rural areas of industrial nations, old-time beliefs still hold sway. Witches fly on broomsticks across the moors of Victoria's Great Britain. Medicine men bless their warriors with bulletproof skin in the so-called Wild West. A Roman Catholic priest casts out demons in rural Tuscany, whilst a Shaolin boxer cracks stone pillars with a single blow. In Edge of Dominion territories, the old ways hold an edge over industrial technology. Although extravagant acts of magic remain catastrophic, that medicine man, for example, would be daring too much if he conjured a tornado from a clear sky. Impressive feats of mystic arts remain uncanny, possibly even elegant, if such feats are part of an ancestral culture of that territory. Enlightened technologies, meanwhile, seem uncanny if not catastrophic. The luminary who steers his giant clockwork spider into the Dakota Badlands is inviting a painful lesson of the fates. Flux states. In the most contested metaphysical battlegrounds, consensus reality is so fluid that spells or technologies that are uncanny one day might seem elegant or catastrophic the next. These flux states are risky places for any form of awakened or enlightened arts. Nothing is truly certain in this area, and so all forms of magic, by whatever name, are dangerous to the caster and anyone else nearby. The Wildlands. Although the fabled wild frontiers of this era have been exaggerated by folks who didn't consider primitive tribesmen to be actual people, the Gaslit Mystery era still teems with wildlands, territories where few people have settled and few cultures, if any, have dominated reality. In such places like deep jungles, vast plains, distant mountain peaks, and so forth, enlightened technology and complex mysticism both remain affronts to nature. Period.
Thank you. And thus ends your sneak peek into this sexy, sexy book. Definitely check out the Indiegogo. Ever drop them the link again. Pretty please.
All right, Captain.
Okay. Now, before we actually start playing, we should talk about gear. Another cool thing that exists in this book, Victorian Age gear. Because who doesn't want to have era-appropriate 6-shooters?
I would not like that. That sounds boring.
Cane swords.
Yes, cane swords.
So many cane swords. Okay. So, also, Dwayne's section mentioned telephones. Does not exist in the year of this game, which is 1871. Still just telegraphs.
We're still.
That's a decade or so away. Maybe a bit more. I think a bit more.
The Order of
At
Reason
least
has
for
some.
common use. Common use, though. Who knows? Maybe one of you's invented one. All right. Gatling guns? Nope. However, Steven, gun canes exist.
Cool.
sorry,
Would
what?
you like a gun cane, Sir Weston Raw?
You let me check my skills very quickly. Yes, I would, please, and thank you. Good sir.
Does 6 dice worth of damage?
I guess I should write that down, shouldn't I? Here we
Yep.
go. Gun cane. Spelled with a K
Now-
because I can't spell.
It's a single shot and cannot be reloaded in combat. However, it's also a sword cane. So first the sword comes out, and then the blade unscrews to be the gun.
That's amazing.
Triple weapon.
Wait,
Yes.
wait. Hold on. I need you to go back 2 steps, then you need to go back 1 step. So the gun cane does 66 damage when shot, you said, right?
Yes, but you only get the 1 shot, and then you have to reload
One
it. out
shot can't be reloaded. Okay, in combat.
Nobody knows that's coming.
Yeah,
It's a
Alright.
sword cane.
it's also a sword cane.
All right. So
Okay.
the first step is you pull the sword out, and you're holding the sword by the cane handle. And then you can push a quick release button and drop the blade, and now it's a gun. Just the handle.
Like it drops like, and then bang,
Yeah. And you got a little-
it
yeah,
drops
and then you
down. Right.
Got a little derringer.
and then I can go
Right.
really quick and
Correct.
it's back to being a sword. Okay, this
Correct.
is officially the coolest fucking game ever. Thank you.
I don't have the skills for it, but can I have one?
And how much damage does the sword do for, the one time I'm going to ever use this as a sword?
strength plus 2 lethal. So 2 lethal plus whatever successes you get on the strength roll.
Strength plus 2.
Rachel even found a picture for the Discord.
Lethal.
The blade's a little longer on yours, though.
I was about to say, that looks like
And
a
yes,
dagger.
Key, you can also have one. You two, as gentlemen, can have that. Nobody else.
You said strength plus 2 lethal, and then plus successes?
Right. No, well, it's your strength roll plus 2 more lethal.
Got it. Understood. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Now,
Hell yeah.
for so Sean, I'm going to give you a couple regular guns, but of course, you're going to be more, dealing with your inventions. But you have dual Colt 45 peacemakers that in the hands of a non-mage would break the arm just firing it with one hand, but you can do it because you're cool.
Okay.
Damage is 7.
Just 7.
Yep. 6 shots each, of course. Now, these are nonsense weapons at the time, meaning it's got 4 barrels, and each shot is all 4 barrels. So it's a Colt with 4 barrels. Don't ask, it just is.
Okay. I mean, I'm not arguing.
And then forever, you, of course, have an Apache Revolver. It's a fold-up weapon, has a snub-barreled gun, brass knuckles, and a short knife blade. Very commonly used out west. It's actually a French gun.
Huh.
But it's called the Apache Revolver because of the territories it was used in heavily.
Very
Damage is 4, 6 shots. And then the brass knuckles are whatever your strength roll is, plus 1 more. Same for the blade. The difference between the knuckles and the blade is the punch is bashing, the blade is lethal.
Okay. Is there a chance that you could copy and paste this to me as well?
I can, but the numbers won't make sense, so I'll do something for you over the break.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Everybody who has training in firearms can have a British Bulldog, the gun used to kill President Garfield. Ivory handles, because it looks better in the museum after you assassinate the president, which the assassin actually bought an ivory-handled revolver, so it would look better in the museum. It's not a joke. It's hilarious. So,
can I have just a brutally sharp hat pin?
yes, actually, I think that's in here. I'm gonna get to that. Wow. British Bulldog is a light revolver that does 5 damage and has 6 shots.
When you say 5 damage, do you just mean 5d6? Yeah. Okay.
Yep, correct.
Thanks.
D10. Yeah.
D10. 5d10.
And then
5d10?
dices are successes in World of Darkness. It's not automatic. So in other words, when you have a dice pool for damage, you roll it, and the successes are the actual damage you do.
Okay.
So it's 5 d10s that you get to roll to see how much damage you do.
Question. So, do I have
Yep.
an Apache Revolver and British Bulldog?
No, you don't have the Bulldog because you have actual dueling pistols, which I'll send you on the break too. Like proper 6-shooters.
Yes.
Like a Webley?
Basically, yeah. The kind that they can pull out real fast, shoot you, spin them around, stick them back in the holster. Because they're from the actual West.
Oh,
I'm excited for this.
The Lamont is a cool gun too. Can fire bullets or buckshot.
Correct. And you, Steven, because of your character's background, has 2 things you can pull from your house. You don't carry these around, but they're available to you in your manor. First, lever action repeating rifle. Winchester model, or Martini Henry Mark II. 8 damage. 2 shots before reload. Or, I'm sorry. No, this was a special gun. 15 shots because it was a lever action.
Okay.
And more importantly, because of your time spent on Safari, a Winchester model 1873 elephant gun. 9 damage, 1 shot. Requires a full turn to reload. And it will wake up the whole block.
It's like portable cannon.
So it's
Even though it's 1871, and it's just that's an equivalent version of the gun.
got it. So the Winchester is 8d10 and the elephant gun is 9d10?
No, the
Oh,
Henry.
I'm sorry. The rifle is 7d10, not 8. I misread that. My bad. Okay. Both Sean and Ever can have double-barreled shotguns.
Nice.
8 damage, but the damage drops if you get farther away. Oh, that's the other trick to the elephant gun, Steve. For the purposes of our short, it's 9 damage, but if you get enough range, it'll do more. It does better at farther distances. It needs time to build up speed.
Gotta pick up that speed, apparently, yeah.
We're gonna shoot Dracula with an elephant gun.
The
Hell
bullet
yes,
gets
we
faster the longer it's outside the barrel. That's physics.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Okay.
How much
Extremely
damage?
deadly hat pin. Oh, the shotgun is 8. If you're within the correct range band, which is close. I'm not going to do actual squares, but if you're close. Hat pin does 4 lethal plus strength.
Neat.
At least yours does.
I'll take it. I have no melee, but
Brass
this will be
knuckles. Brass fighting knuckles for anyone who wants them that has brawling is one bashing plus strength.
Sure.
And Ever, you will have a cavalry saber.
I'm a walking armory.
Because you were in the Civil War. Yeah, you're in this venture to be the hired gun.
This is very empowering.
Another thing to point out to start so you think about for your characters is this is the Victorian era, and for better or for worse, everyone's addicted to something. We're not going to read that part of the book, but yeah, even kids were given laudanum and absinthe and shit in this era.
Oh, fun.
A little cocaine before bed.
I know what I
Pick
want
your
to be
addiction.
addicted
Pick
to.
your addiction now. Sound off. It doesn't have to be hard, but it's got to be something. And yes, Key, yours can be cocaine if you would like it to be. Probably morphine though for a gentleman.
Be the third.
Or wait, no,
game
not
in-
morphine.
Opium.
What did they call cocaine?
They just called it
Maybe
cocaine.
that one they
Berry
might just
powder.
have called cocaine. You're
They
right.
just called that
That one didn't have a
cocaine.
weird. What about Dwayne's character?
Something odd. I'm going to
Laudanum.
choose.
Opium,
No.
absinthe, alcohol, smoking.
Do they have stats for embalming fluid?
You
I'm
drink
sure I can
embalming
make
fluid?
something work if it doesn't. Yes. Why not?
Formaldehyde, very
I'll
tasty.
allow it.
Yeah.
I will allow a formaldehyde addiction that's going to kill you by the time you're 30. What about Rachel?
It
Gazpacho.
wouldn't be a World of Darkness game if it didn't.
I will take absinthe so that I can drink out of my pretty absinthe glass on camera.
And because nice, just break out the spoon too. And because this is a mage game, absinthe actually will get you high. Steven. Alcohol and caffeine counts too if you want a lesser addiction.
Snuff was what gentlemen used a lot of. That's like a really weird form of tobacco.
Yeah, so I was actually thinking that with the combination of, he spent some time in Africa, so I'm gonna say it wrong. Uh, uh, fuck. I forgot to say. Sorry. I think it's cut. It's a chewing plant.
Cacao?
Oh, I don't know how to say that either.
I used to know, and I'm blanking right now. I know how to say. I'm sorry.
Cut works. We'll say cut for now.
Yeah, isn't
If
that
we're wrong,
cut?
someone will tell us if they know.
Yeah, if you remember, it's an African plant that's chewed. You chew it for a very long time. It's like chewing tobacco in the West, but not. And it has addictive properties. It also has a very like mellowing thing to it. So, yeah,
And it's exotic too, which is appropriate for you as the rich one.
right. So I would, in the same way that people would have a snuff box, I would have this with some supply that I brought back over. So.
Ever.
I am going to go with cigarettes.
Okay.
Also, side note, kids, don't smoke, please.
And Sean.
You said caffeine?
Yeah, coffee houses were a thing in the Victorian era. However, you should be aware it's starting to be less of a thing, especially by the 1870s, but there's a common conception that caffeine makes you impotent. To the point that at one point in this era, there was a organized movement by ladies to make coffee houses go away because it was making the men perform less well.
That's dumb. This dude literally, like, if he can't get liquid coffee, he will just literally suck on beans like chewing tobacco in his lip. Like, eat them raw.
Okay. All right. Now, before we get into how you're connected and actually start, which is the next step, it's just about time for our mid-show break. Since we're a little late, let's just do 7 minutes today.
Oh.
So, audience, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 7 minutes to actually start the story.
All right. That'll give me time to explain in-game terrain. I'll be right back.
And we have returned, and now we're going to get into the story. To explain to us the sad, sad tale of the Weston Roz, I give you Rachel.
So, the from my character's perspective, she was born fairly late in her father's life. She has a brother she doesn't remember, but who died both heroically and tragically on safari. Uh, sort of growing up under this cloud of like grief at having a lost son, she grew very close to her older sister, Lucy. And as with most proper English women, once Lucy turned about 18, 19, it was time for her to find a good match. And her prospects were very good. 3 separate gentlemen proposed to her on the same day. So, personally, I was super excited. I get to see my sister get married, and then soon it will be my turn, and our children will play together. Uh, but then my sister took a dramatic turn for the worst. It was some sort of anemia, wasting disease. I wasn't sure, but her best friend, Mina Murray, thought that maybe when her own betrothed, Jonathan Harker, went to Transylvania to do some legal work for this one guy, maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. No one would tell me anything. They're trying to keep me out of it. Very frustrating. My sister eventually passed away, which crushed me. I miss her so much. She was my best friend. We were supposed to, grow old together. And is that what you wanted, Tyler? More details? Oh dear, I think he stepped away.
We have lost Tyler. No.
Yeah, making
And he
things
has
worse.
returned from the shadows.
The dog decided knocking over the green screen was a good idea. So, that is correct.
Upper.
And why don't we pick up the story here and have a little bit improv from Arthur Westenra.
Yes.
Don't worry, if you miss anything, I'll fill in the blanks. Fine.
Okay. Well, it was, well, the details that my daughter did tell you is what she knows. Of course, it is a little bit more than that. Unfortunately, my daughter Lucy succumbed to some sort of strange illness. No doctor could tell it, but upon further investigation, it does seem as though she was removed of all of her blood. Sanguinism of some sort took place. These are the things that we wanted to protect Maisie from. Unfortunately, I was not there for my daughter Lucy. I was off on yet another exploration. One similar to the one that lost me my son years and years before. While trekking through Africa, my son succumbed to malaria, so I am used to the loss of a child. But it was on those expeditions that I have learned to deal and find the tools needed to find those who have hurt Lucy. Africa, Middle East, Far East, India. These are the places my travels brought me when I was a part of a particular station in English expansion. Although, of course, as I saw the truth behind those expansions, we have rededicated ourselves. Our fortune is waning. We have moved from our countryside manor to a smaller cul-de-sac in a good but lesser part of the city. And we are refocusing. We are refocusing to find the ones who hurt Lucy. We will do anything we can to do that.
Correct. Arthur Westenra has lost his son, and then his oldest daughter, and then his wife from the grief of losing the oldest daughter. And all that remains to him is his youngest daughter, who the two of them became very obsessed with finding out the truth, and they believe they had. They believe they have discovered a new species lurking in the dark parts of London that they have dubbed a hominis nocturnus. Feeds on the blood, perhaps because they have some wasting disease of their own in their blood. They don't know, but it makes them feral and monstrous, and they must be put down for the good of the kingdom, for the good of the queen.
For the good of the people.
No one believes them, of course, so they don't talk about it publicly much. They've been chasing down leads on this for quite some time, and they finally believe they have a good, solid lead.
It's not quite a topic you bring up at dinner parties. The removal of one's blood.
Correct.
Need to go to better dinner parties.
The two of you believe you finally got a good, solid lead.
Okay.
And that there was several a group of young revelers got drunk and high, wandered into a bad part of town, and only half the group came out screaming about horrible monsters devouring them for their blood, with mouths full of needle-sharp teeth and horrible red eyes and other nonsense that most people dismiss as the ravings of those high on a bad combination of laudanum and absinthe. But you two, and in the days and weeks that followed, all of the survivors but one wasted away and died. You have finally managed to use your contacts, Sir Arthur, to finagle an interview with said person. Said person has completely lost their mind and is being held at the Bethlehem Medical Asylum, more commonly known by the people of London as Bedlam. It has a very nefarious reputation all through the ages. Cutting edge mental health treatment too, let me tell you.
Oh boy.
Literally cutting the edge of brains.
I don't even know if that's a thing yet. They spray you down with water and stick you in an ice bath to calm your ass. Not a great scene.
Yeah, like a straight jacket is them being nice.
Yeah. But you realize that if this is the lead you think it is, this time you're going to need help. So, using your manor house in London as a base of operations, you once had a nice house in the countryside, but you sold that to be closer to where the evil lived. And you have a manor house that is a cul-de-sac. It's like 20 or 30 rooms. It's just the two of you and a manservant. You can make up the manservant how you want. Steve doesn't have to be tonight, but he can be someone you brought back, maybe another Chakravanti. But it's up to you what you want to do.
Okay.
Like, to the public, he's your manservant, but to you, he's a trusted ally. You have to keep up appearances, is what it is.
I would not want him.
Be...
I do not want it to be someone brought in from one of the colonies of England at the time. I want to avoid that particular thing. However, I do want I think I already know. I want it to actually be another Englishman. But like, so I'm
from England or from somewhere else?
Englishman, from England specifically. He could be Irish or Scottish. I guess we could, expand out to anywhere in that general Isles area. But he has to be a big. I want a big, like, oversized boxer, like a heavyweight boxer in a suit. That is our manservant.
So a simple fellow, but a large, imposing fellow.
Right. Who acts as
okay.
our servant. But he could be Chakravanti, or in that region also. The other
doesn't
one.
have to be awakened. He could just be an assassin.
Okay.
Chakravanti use Chakravanti aids, or what they call them, that are human assassins that don't have magical powers.
Ah, gotcha. Okay, so yeah, maybe I've made him an aide. So
his name's Quincy.
I like it, Quincy.
Every man. Using that as your base of operations, you will finally cleanse this scourge from the streets of London, and that will be our story. Your good friend. Don't know my own characters' names.
Joffrey Wellington.
What's your first name, Key? Joffrey. Thank you.
Yes.
Your good friend Joffrey, you have known for many years. However that backstory happened isn't really relevant, but you can make it up if you want anyways. You're bringing him in as consultation because he's a very smart, analytical, logical fellow and will help keep you grounded when your theories get too wild and out there. Because obviously this is some kind of natural mutation of some kind. Obviously. Monsters aren't real.
The engine said so. The engine doesn't lie.
Do me and Maisie think, like, still very logical, or are we far enough along to know about monsters and other things? At least to some small degree.
The truth would be, it's more a matter of he helps remind you what to say around other people. As a member of the Chakravanti, with the time you spent in India and the rebellion, yeah, you've seen some shit.
Got it. Okay.
As for Maisie is a secret heathen, full-on verbene, dances Probably. I don't know. It's up to Maisie, but dances naked in the wood covered in the blood of her enemies.
We do that only where the men can't see us.
Exactly.
Quite
Maisie
right.
probably also has a coven when necessary, but right now, for the purpose of this story acts alone. So Maisie, yes, believes in everything. Probably isn't right about most of it, but believes in everything.
Okay.
Dwayne's character, Mr. Lyle, Dr. Lyle, you are going to hire him because he has a reputation in London of being willing to do anything that furthers his knowledge of science for a fee, and he will ask no questions and tell no tales. So part of what you want to do at Bedlam is have an autopsy done on those who expired by wasting away. It hasn't been long enough for them to become monsters themselves yet. So what if you could get an autopsy done during the transformation? That'd be fascinating. And this man will do it, won't ask why, and won't tell anyone the results. At least that's your hope. So when we open the scene, you're going to approach him in a coffee house. This proper gentleman.
Lyle, right?
Yes, Doctor.
Dr. Lyle. Yeah.
Okay.
Ethan Jones, it's going to be Maisie sent to hire you for muscle and protection. You're in town on a roving show, Wild West 6-shooter show. You stay away from all of that terrible stories of the Native American slurs here and how you shot them all down. Instead, your stories revolve around putting down rebel uprisings of outliers from the Civil War that refused to quit even after the war. So you reenact it in costume with fake bullets. You do trick shots with real bullets. It's a whole show.
Living
I
for
totally
this,
You'll shoot
loving
behind your back and
this.
hit targets and shit.
Jesse James was a Confederate, so you could totally be like, here's how I brought down Jesse James.
I like
That
this.
could be.
I like
And
this a lot.
Maisie cast the entrails or the runes or whatever form of prognostication Maisie would prefer, and also did the tarot card reading, and we're talking Victorian, where it takes a 10-person table to do a tarot card reading. And the spirits told her to seek you out because there's something special about you. Of all of the muscle that one could hire, the good shots that one could hire in London. As for Sean's character, can you change your name and zoom for us, Sean? Because I can't remember yours either.
You'll have to change it.
I can't. You're the leader.
I can't. I'll do it later. It's Murdoch.
Oh, right. You're Murdoch. How does one bring Murdoch in? I had not added that piece yet when we ran out of time. So who's got cool ideas of how Murdoch's going to get hired? A very eccentric adventurer, but well known in the decadent scenes of London.
I was going to go with, he definitely is going to drop into one of the scenes you've already laid out. Do not tell us which one. As the crazed Australian getting into a random fight with somebody, and he's just the guy knocking over stuff and tables, but seems good enough to join the group because he's got some weird contraption on him that someone will notice.
Before that,
maybe you had once met him on one of your many adventures.
Oh
maybe
yes, maybe I have crossed his path somewhere.
Yes,
and it's a Murdoch, you son of a bitch moment.
Okay.
Sanguination. I'm in.
Speaking of Murdoch, we didn't mention your cool steampunk tech. The backpack I say that you carry around barely fits into the consensus here, but still does.
Okay.
Has 8 points of quintessence. Each use of the backpack burns a point. It's an energy source. Can be recharged at a node, which conveniently for you, Maisie has access to. You also might find some during the course of the story. Each time you use a point is when you can hook. The backpack has wires that hook to literally anything, and enhance whatever you hook it to, but it has to be something you hold or your body. Yes, Maisie.
Dawn Arnetto has a really good suggestion in Twitch chat that Murdoch is the guy
What's he
who
got?
built the sword gun cane.
Yeah, that works for me.
Built my sword gun cane. Okay.
And you even gifted one to your good friend Joffrey when you came back from that expedition.
Sounds good.
Ooh, maybe that's how he knew you're his best friends, is that it was your son's and you still gifted it to him.
Oh
Yes.
my.
Oh,
Oh.
deep.
So yeah, when I
But
say
we
enhance
gotta
Murdoch,
remember,
you like
we gotta
plug it
remember,
into yourself.
Let's not get carried away here. It's a father-son relationship from like it would have been like the 1850s, right? You know, because he's probably died a while ago. So it would have been like
Well, he adored you, but you were somewhat dismissive of him as the time
right, because he,
demanded.
probably went out on his first adventure, so he's probably still in his teens, so he wasn't a real person. Like that very like, well, you're just becoming interested.
Yeah, this was
so I'm
his
only
journey to
just now
manhood
acknowledging you as a person.
Well, yeah, but now there's no one
Right.
to carry on the family name.
Also that, and you do have regrets because it's many years from now.
Right.
You wish maybe you had done things differently.
Of course.
But a
can
gentleman
promise
never
that.
admits such things. Murdoch, when I say enhance, if you plug it into yourself, you can like use the charge to add extra dice to physical actions. If you
Okay.
plug it into your guns, they can make a super kick. They can shoot lightning. You can make up weird shit. Just remember the rules of the Straits, and where you do things matters.
I don't think Murdoch cares about that, being a mad scientist, so...
Oh, I fully expect Murdoch to have several paradox backlashes in this story.
Yes.
When the scene opens, it will be Joffrey and Sir Arthur entering the coffee shop to meet with Dr. Lyle. It is early evening, perpetually fall in my games, of course. So it's brisk. It's London. It's never warm. Haven't seen the sun in days. It's raining. It's foggy. And begin.
Joffrey, good sir. Pleasure seeing you.
Indeed. And shake his hand very aggressively. Like,
Very good. Why? Strong grip.
very good to
sir.
see you.
So who is this doctor you've acquired?
Doctor, yes.
What do we know of him?
Brilliant man. Certain.
Good. Looking for a brilliant man. All right. Well, let us grab a seat. They say this is a coffee house, but I have not had good coffee since I've gotten back to England. I'll have a tea, please. Tea. Thank you.
No, you must try the coffee. I insist.
Having spent time amongst the Turks, I will pass on the English coffee.
Very well, very well.
So I will order tea, even though it is this late. It is a
To
drinking
a coffee shop and
establishment.
order tea.
Yes. Do you have this particular
18
tea?
Now, another thing to note that it wasn't actually until a decade and a half ago-ish when tea became the thing it is now in British society.
Okay.
So it is beginning to be accepted, but you don't have to treat it like there must be tea time constantly. It's more likely you would serve coffee to your guests at this stage. But
I
you
see.
have it, and it exists.
Okay.
And so, yes, if you go to the counter
This
and
will be-
ask the person
This will
at
be
the
all
counter,
the rage soon.
So you walk in. What am I talking about? There's no counter. You walk in, and you set yourselves on some very nice but fragile settees. You must delicately sit because they might break. They're very comfortable. The cushions are all of like an inch and a half thick. It's quite comfortable.
Oh my.
You sit across from each other with a coffee table between you, and a gentleman with fine mustaches walks up and asks how he can serve you.
I do the tea.
Do you ask for some exotic tea from India?
Yeah, I'll be that douche.
The exchange takes about a minute and a half. We're like, no, but we have this. He seems to know his teas quite well, and eventually you arrive on something close.
Okay. Fun.
You'll have to
Perhaps.
remember that. You look around this tea house, and you're like, this is a nice place. There's no women in here, but otherwise, this is a nice place. Whereas most gentlemen are like, it's nice because there are no women in here. Victorian London.
Yeah.
You all look around, and what do you order, Joffrey?
Joffrey would request the strongest coffee they have while rubbing bags under his eyes.
He slightly arches his eyebrow, but his proper British gentleman does not question you. Strongest it is, sir.
Thank you, my good man.
What you don't know is they have this new kind of coffee that's actually made stronger by running through the digestive system of certain animals and then aged in. It's gonna kick your ass.
Awesome.
It's delicious, by the way.
I should point out here that I am changing time slightly because it's fun. And Victoria, as the newly crowned Queen of England, sadly is a Order of Reason member. However, she's also much stronger-willed, even more so than the real Queen Victoria. And as such, suffrage is in full swing, and you'll probably have the vote in the next election cycle, Rachel.
Oh, now I really want a dot of brawl so I could be one of the jujitsu suffragettes.
You can have it.
Yay! Can I have
can
a bit
have
of
one.
jujitsu
I will allow
suffragette?
it.
Can I be one of
Awesome.
the?
And other women's rights are slightly more advanced, or quite a bit more in some cases than in actual history.
I'm good with
I
that.
fought the cops to get the vote.
You both look around while you're waiting for your drink, and you see. Describe yourself, please, Doctor.
You see
Across the room.
nice looking gentleman, about hair down to his shoulders. He is wearing his white doctor smock. It is the nicer one that he has, but it is a little stained at the bottom on the frills at the bottom. He does carry a
Frills.
yeah, you know the little tufts at the bottom. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Don't make fun of me. He does have a pipe that he is continually smoking as he walks in.
Okay.
And as he walks in, he immediately recognizes Joffrey from at least one symposium that he may have given.
At Cambridge, yes.
Yes. And immediately walks over to you. Says, good afternoon, gentlemen.
Ah, yes. Marvelous to see you, and aggressively shake your hand.
Yes.
Yes, very good. Please. Sit down, please.
Oh, yes. And he sits down. Pretty jittery.
Do you look strung out and exhausted with bags under your eyes, Doctor?
No, he actually looks
So
fairly awake.
only Joffrey looks that way. Okay.
Yes.
Only Joffrey looks like he hasn't slept in a week. I must know
He hasn't.
one important detail from all three of you,
Yes.
except probably Steve's character. Tell us about your mustaches. It's the Victorian era.
Ah,
Are you rocking full beards, handlebars,
mm,
big long wavy things? What do we got going on?
So Joffrey would have had one of those nice curled mustaches, but has since been unattended to in weeks.
It's unwaxed.
It's like unwaxed. He's got stubble all over. It's becoming a beard, but not quite there yet. Looks like
Dr.
a mess.
Lyle will have long side, not mutton chops, not like bushy mutton chops, but they do come down very, very long, probably at
Still long.
a nice point. You know, they are tapered nicely. And then a like eyeliner thin, like dash of a mustache that comes directly to the edge of the mouth.
Pencil thin.
Not even pencil. We're talking like those little tiny brushes that artists use.
It's like he has a stray hair from his head.
Right, yeah.
You have a John Waters mustache?
And what about you, Sir Weston Raw? Do you somehow manage to make people respect you without old man facial hair, which would be a rarity in Victorian England? It's actually more likely these two would be hairless than you.
I think in order to maintain that air of, societal influence and keep trendy, right? I would have facial hair, but it would actually be incredibly short, well-maintained, because as someone who gets into many fights often and has a bit of an anger issue, I do not want something that people can grab. So it is cut specifically with the idea that I have seen one too many men's beards grabbed and lead to their death.
Just enough so people can see that it's white and you are demanding of respect.
Of course.
Got it. Okay. Feel free to begin hiring the good doctor now, or interviewing him, whatever your path may be, Sir Weston Raw.
Yes, so in our earlier correspondence, the letter that I received, I understand that you were looking for a doctor of well means. Well means?
Your means interest me much less than your talents. Men should be judged by their abilities as opposed to their means and status. Tell me about
sir,
your talents, Doctor.
My good sir, you misunderstand. I do not mean means as in financial. I mean means as the ability to do it.
That is what I'm interested in. Tell me, what are you a doctor of, Doctor?
That's a good question. What am I a doctor of?
Medicine,
Yes.
hopefully.
Yeah, you're a legit medical doctor, but your specialty is in human biology and anatomy.
Insert Tyler here.
Okay. Excellent, excellent. And so you are well established with the makings of the human body, with deviations of that particular set, correct?
Deviations, you say?
Yes, mutations, adaptations.
Ah, a word that I enjoy.
Do you know?
I do.
So you have read the latest literature on the subject.
My good sir, I probably wrote some of that literature.
Damn.
Interesting. Well, you'll have to humor me with a copy of any of your books. Doctor, I'll be quite frank and honest with you. What I'm going to ask you to do will be not only odd or peculiar. In most circles, if you were to speak about it, you would be laughed out of the room, if not completely removed from your profession.
Well, this is a situation that I am familiar with. I have had many dealings with those who do not understand my philosophies.
You've read up on this idea of mutational progressions, this sort of evolving aspect of life. Have you heard of this?
He looks at the word of evolution. He goes,
There's a book published on it recently.
Yeah, that book's like 10 years old by now. I think
It's
that
a
wasn't.
wonderful
He
read.
does not believe in evolution. It's more of I can create it.
Oh my.
He doesn't say that out loud though.
Okay.
But he'll give you like a, yes, I have read it.
I believe we might be looking for a secondary human evolution.
I believe I understand what you're talking about.
Is this a particular area in which you would be interested in? The pay is adamant. The pay is exceptional.
May I ask why you just screamed?
Exceptionally
That
adequate.
was Steve's brain.
Okay.
going
He
bad.
hasn't had his tea yet.
Adequate.
Sorry.
Don't mind him.
Sorry.
The tea was
I
hot.
It was hot.
No, that was player's brain derailing internally.
Okay.
Nope, it's canon now. You sipped the tea between. And,
Really spicy. They kicked it up a notch for you.
I did say rage issue, so
Now the
Pat on the
pay,
shoulder.
I am not so worried about. I
well, I assume you
I
need
am
funding.
financially stable.
Oh, stable, you say? That's very, very nice to hear.
But the aspect of learning more and perhaps getting a, how would I say this, a one-on-one intimacy with said creature.
Then I believe we could work together, and it is a pleasure to have you aboard. I will accept this. I will take this as your acceptance. Excellent.
More science! As you shake hands on the deal, noise erupts in the street, shouts and yelling, and then more shouts and yelling. The shattering of glass, and the sound of something hard hitting metal. And then cheers. And the door flies open, and in steps Sean's character. Knuckles covered in blood. He's got a bruise forming on the side of his face. You can hear the audience inside yelling about, "Yeah, you definitely showed that guy."
Crikey, I
And
did.
then you kick in the door and you say, "I always need a coffee after a good ass kicking."
I can drink to that, yes.
What an unruly character.
Quite.
Oh, I'm a fun man.
Everyone
You got
stops
that?
and stares at you.
Wait. You got the coffee that comes out of a monkey's bum?
What?
Everyone just stares at you, but the maitre d' is like, "Yes."
I'll
Thumbs
have
up.
6 of those. Like the big ones in points.
Gentlemen, if you'll excuse me for just one moment.
We don't serve them in pints.
You do now.
Clearly, you're not from around here, sir.
No, I'm not.
You sound like you're from the prison colonies. Everyone arches their eyebrow at you.
That's unnecessary talk. Just bring me.
I'll get you that drink, sir.
Bring me my coffee and my pints.
When the maitre d' or server goes away, I want to excuse me for just one moment, gentlemen, and I want to come up behind Murdoch and press my cane into his back. Freeze, you Australian bastard, or I'll shoot you with this cane.
Oh shit! It's the British. Arthur, you old Britishman, how you doing?
Murdoch, you bastard. What trouble have you gotten yourself into today?
That's right, I'm a bastard. I don't know why you always gotta bring it up. Did you hear? They make coffee that comes out of a monkey's bum.
I'm sticking to tea, personally.
Ah, all right. Oh, crikey.
I've heard.
You realize, Joffrey, that's what you're drinking.
Just looks at the cup and inspects it a bit and then shrugs.
What?
Continues drinking.
Might I ask what you're doing in town?
What aren't I doing in town is kind of the better question.
Okay, then what aren't you doing in town?
Well, it might be both questions at the same time if you could do that. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Good to see you, Arthur.
See you as well.
Right, crikey. You got a seat? I could have a sit down and drink
Please,
my
yes,
coffee.
come sit. I'm meeting with two very well accomplished men of science and reason, and I know
Right.
you, a man of. I'll look at whatever weird contraption he has strapped to himself today. I know you are a man of
Science. Science. He's got like
Truth, Murdoch.
3 goggles. Like he's got a hair on his hat. He's wearing a pair and one around his neck.
He has
Come
a
sit.
tie on, but it's not tied. It's just hanging there.
Right.
Come sit with us. Come.
The truth, Murdoch, is you don't really know how you got to London. You shared a drink with that bloke, and then a week later you were in London.
That sounds about right.
Woke up in a hotel room, naked on the bed.
So I was naked. Me willy's just hanging all out everywhere, and then, groggy. I don't know what happened. Then I was in London. Found me a pair of pants, and walking down the street. This bloke's like, you should have a shirt. I was like, I'll have your shirt.
Come, Murdoch, come. And I'll bring him over to the table. Mr. Wellington, Dr. Lyle, might I introduce to you Mr. Murdoch.
Gents.
Adventurer extraordinaire and creator of peculiarities?
Aye, sounds right.
Dr. Lyle will stand up when he comes over. Dr. Otto Lyle at your service.
Shakes your hand in the most ridiculously vigorous way possible.
I can't wait for this handshake that's about to happen.
Is it like not? Is it like? Does it like not meet the thumbs and like you grab my thumb and shake?
It's like it's just awkward and just vigorous and just
It shakes your whole arm too.
Yeah, just your whole arm. Like your chest sort of vibrates. Like it hurts a little.
And
Pull back my hand. Wow. Well, that was. Hello.
And this is Mr. Wellington.
Wellington.
Mr. Wellington has finished his coffee, so he jumps up and is immediately going with like a two-handed handshake.
Oh, two-handed.
Yes,
wow.
My name is Mr. Wellington. It's a pleasure to meet you, and might I say that is a marvelous hat. And yes, please take a seat.
Thank you. Great. Have a seat. But he just
Maitre D arrives with a tray full of coffee.
Yeah, you can just put those there. Those are
Just
mine.
like coffee cups. Yes.
Right.
So-
Thank you,
So, Murdoch, I know I don't need to say much to you in regard to this, so I'm just going to ask you.
Aye.
Fancy a fight?
Is my name Murdoch Jones?
I've never once heard your family name before. I've only ever heard you as Murdoch. I honestly didn't think you had a second name.
Hold on. Checking a bit. Carry the 2 plus the 1.
Sir
Yes,
Arthur's like,
it is
fancy a
Jones.
fight. Joffrey and Dr. Lyle look out the window. There's like police blowing whistles and like this guy being put on a stretcher.
Right.
People standing around, his blood everywhere.
Yeah, I wonder what happened to him.
I think we would end on fancy a fight and Murdoch just doing his thing.
Moving the scene to the Wild West Shootout show. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say, which is funny because I did not mention fighting to Joffrey or Dr. Lyle, so I'm sure they're like, wait, what?
Oh, so Murdoch's mustache is like just out there. Like just winsend and just out there, just like thick, and then it like bristles, but then he's got like this long like strap off his chin as well. It's a sight to behold.
So Ethan, you can open the scene by enacting the closing bit of your trick shooting show, talking about, and then I took them outlaws down using this shot and whatever. Do that while Maisie is standing in the crowd observing.
Fantastic. And then, after the cannon fire had ended, one lone rebel comes stumbling out of the wood, cocks his revolver, puts it right in the back of my head, put my hands up, and then drew my guns faster than he could even think, spun around and shot him twice. Dead. And then
Ethan fires behind him without looking. The bullets hit 2 metal plates that dong, ricochet off of them, and hit 2 target dummies off to the side in the head. Each perfect shot. Highly impressive, Maisie. Carry on.
thank you for that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was how one remaining factor of the rebel contingency was shut down.
The audience cheers and claps. There's some kids actually hiding behind mom's skirts. Some of the people are like actually a little bit freaked out. This is entertainment of the era. You're approached. Maisie's still just observing. You're approached by a gentleman and his lady. They shake your hand vigorously and like, such a great show. We're so impressed with your shooting skills. Perhaps you could tell us more stories in your trailer.
No, I don't think so. Not in my trailer, please, and thank you.
It takes a good 5 minutes to convince them you're not interested in the threesome. And in that time, the rest of the audience clears out, and you pull off because you're wearing a fake wig. You've got like a fake beard on to look like a Wild West cowboy. You pull them off and you sigh heavily and you're hot. It's been a long day. You're kind of annoyed. And then you notice someone's still staring at you and you're like, shit. So describe to us what you actually look like.
So Ethan has, of course, his black trademark hat, but his hair is also black and his eyes are brown. He's very obviously kind of leathered by the sun. Wears his vest, button-up shirt, some I think blue jeans were invented back then.
Yeah.
California Gold Rush, 1848. Levi.
Yep.
Levi Strauss.
Yes.
Yours would have the flared bottoms with the spurs built in probably to your boots, that kind of thing.
Sounds
like
about
the
right.
jeans had a little cut for the spur.
Oh, that's why that's called boot cut.
That is correct.
Cool. Also, he has a very large, pretentious belt buckle on that has like an imprint of a horseshoe, but also 2 feathers crossed behind it. His holsters for his dual pistols are on his hips because, well, this might be polite society, but he's not. He's a gentleman, but he's not exactly like high society kind of guy. Defends over looks, and he has a necklace on, which he's been poked fun at a few times from his fellow compatriots for wearing, but it's just a simple leather cord with a copper crescent moon. Very like rough looking, like hammered.
Neat.
And what does Maisie look like?
Maisie, let's see, she's probably wearing something that was fashionable like 3 years ago. And so, fashions don't change that much. But what she's wearing, it's a little worn, it's a little patched. Her shoes are fairly scuffed. But it's very, prim, proper, high collar, skirts down to, just above her ankles, because, you don't want to get the hems dirty. She does wear flowers in her hair, sort of a nod to her verbenaness. Let's see, what else? Yeah, she probably has, she's got a really cool, it's a chatelaine. So it's like a big belt buckle almost, but it's on her hip. And she's got, little pockets and, lockets, small boxes, little tools, all hang from that belt, with very thin chain. And Ethan would probably be able to pick up that there is, She's got kind of a flower and lunar aesthetic going on.
Now, let's break into dice for this scene. Maisie, roll awareness plus perception, difficulty 6.
Awareness plus perception. I don't suck
Ethan.
at this.
Primal urge plus perception, difficulty 6.
Yeah, that's a 1, but everything else was good. That's a 10, so I get to reroll that one. 4 successes total.
Nice.
I'm going to use my sheet here.
Okay.
And hopefully the dice like me this time. Because my last game I played, not so much.
Not so much. Yeah, I'd say they liked you. Especially since the difficulty is too high and you still got 4 successes.
Wait, what? I thought I marked... Oh,
It defaults to 8 on this sheet. I still have to fix that.
Oops.
So, when you look at Ethan, Maisie, when you lock eyes and shake hands, or, he kisses your hand, whatever proper etiquette they decide to use, you can see, you didn't notice it before, but the trailer that he apparently uses and the outbuildings and the target dummies, everything is covered in ravens. You didn't notice until just now. And you look deeper and you see that Ethan's eyes actually look like bird irises.
Mm-hmm.
And for a second, there's wings sprouting out of his back, and you can see shadows just like crawling around him and nudging up against him, various animal spirits. That clearly they are very comfortable around his presence. And everything returns to normal. And when you, Ethan, look at Maisie, there's a palpable aura that you don't see on normal humans. She resonates with some kind of energy. Whatever it is very... It reminds you of earth and rain and natural places, deep woods, twilight conjunctions. It just makes you feel very natural, very wild, very primal. Not very much not the appearance that she's showing you, even though her clothes are outdated. She's showing you Victorian lady. You're seeing wild person running in the woods with wolves.
Miss
Westenra.
Miss Westenra. You can just call me Ethan. I don't really care either way.
You can call me Maisie.
Well, Miss Maisie, you have a very comforting presence. Just add forward to say, but I thought it was appropriate to note.
Thank you. I see as well you have an aura I find agreeable.
Hopefully not too wild, ma'am. Miss, sorry.
I like it wild.
That is correct. You would have a very difficult time just calling her Maisie. You weren't raised that way, and you were in the army.
I appreciate the wilder aspects of the world.
Well, thank you kindly. To what do I owe this immense pleasure?
Well, if I can be perfectly honest, as I came here, I wondered how I might make my case to you. But now that I see you, and I hope you don't mind if I'm being too forward, now that I see you, I feel that I may simply tell you the truth, that I am looking for someone who knows not only how to fight, but when to fight and why to fight. And the spirits led me to you.
Oh, one of them spiritual types. I
You
can
could say
appreciate that.
I will be direct with you. My older sister came into a bit of trouble a while ago. I ended up losing her.
My condolences.
Thank you. My father and I have dedicated what remains of our family fortune to finding the thing responsible.
The-
When I say thing, it looks like a man, but it is not.
I can say with a certain confirmation that I have experienced somewhat of the sort. In a roundabout way of speaking, of course.
Of course. I and my father would be most grateful for your assistance and I dare say your wisdom.
Too kind of you. Too kind of you. I would be quite pleased to meet your father and work out a deal. I do have a contract with the Wild West show. However, I'm not objecting.
Actually, this is your show,
Oh shit, really?
Nice.
and you are getting kind of tired of it. You came here to escape your past, and all this show does is remind you of it. You spend most of your evenings getting hammered in the bar.
Oh, good to know. Is that why I didn't remember that fact? No. I've been looking to close this show. I just have never had a good reason until now. And I find you quite the reason.
I am quite pleased to hear that and more grateful than I could say. When would be a convenient time to introduce you to my father? And I've no doubt he's assembled his own band of associates by now.
Anytime. Let me, boys, pack your shit up. Begging your pardon. Pack it up and go home.
Grumbles
Well.
and moans, but no disagreements.
I would be pleased to have you escort me home.
I would be quite honored. And he
Let's
puts
then.
out his arm for her.
Yeah, she'll take it.
The scene
Yeah.
will move. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, just, yeah. Going to Chateau Westenra.
The scene will move to the six of you sitting awkwardly in the parlor, being served tea and coffee and biscuits. 7 of you, if you count the very large, imposing fellow serving the tea and coffee and biscuits. His hand is bigger than the tray, and yet he's super delicate with it. It's kind of amazing.
Thank you, Quincy.
And Sir Arthur, of course, having been introduced to each other now, is standing to give his whatever speech. Now that your band is assembled.
Thank you all so much for joining me and my daughter. We have brought you all together for a particular adventure. So that we are, of course, all properly introduced. We are, of course, blessed by the additional presence of one Mr. Murdoch, who was not initially contracted for this job, but
I won't
fate.
take offense.
I did not believe I said anything offensive to you, as fate has blessed us with your presence. Thank you.
That it has.
Those. Now that I've been interrupted and thrown off. Yes, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, there is a creature. There's a creature that lives in this city. We don't know if it is singular or many. However, this creature seems to be some sort of deviation from the typical pathway of human development. As the good doctor and professor, Mr. Wellington, can speak to, science is starting to show that particular traits exist within living creatures. And as certain traits make it more advantageous for survival, those become more common in a particular species. These developments lead to the norm that we see around us. However, taking that theory, pockets of individuals most likely could develop alternate aspects and characteristics if left alone long enough to develop them away from overall human development. So there's a combination of these scientific logics and outside theories that I bring to you the idea of, what are we calling them? I'm sorry?
A Homo
Hominis
nocturnus,
nocturnus.
Father.
Thank you. As my daughter has come up with the term Homo nocturnus. These creatures, while at times appearing human, are very far from human. These are creatures of the night.
I should point out here before you say anything else. You have discovered they prefer to act at night, but you have no idea sunlight hurts them. You just think they prefer the shadows. Carry on.
They are night predators. Like many animals, they use darkness as a shroud when searching for prey. The Nocturnus, unfortunately, has developed a predatory nature towards humans. It feeds on the blood of humans. Not the meat, not the muscle, not the organs, the blood itself.
Sir Arthur, if I may ask, you say that it feeds on the blood.
This is a working theory. We are very upfront with you, Doctor. I will let you know now. All of these are merely hypothesis. We do not know for certain what these creatures do. We have a few examples that lead us to this particular idea.
Ah, yeah.
Hypothesis.
Yes. Yes, understood. Please continue.
Thank you.
Yes.
At this time, the most up-to-date example is the... do we have like an address or area where the latest attack would have taken place?
Favors have kept that silent. That's why you want to do the interview.
Okay.
You want the details.
So, it has come to
Merely
my attention...
that it was somewhere in the Undercity, which is the sewers and the docks, everything that's below, at the water level of the Thames.
Gotcha. It has come to my attention that there has been an attack recently. I believe it was 3 young men came out of the Undercity screaming of interactions with creatures with needle-like teeth looking to remove their blood. 2 of them succumbed to their injuries and have passed away. 1 remains alive, currently housed in a local sanitarium known as Bedlam.
You've all heard of that.
Yes,
Nothing good.
I am intimately familiar with this establishment.
Yes, Doctor, I assumed that you would have some knowledge of it. So, me and my daughter, Maisie, have a personal interest in finding these particular creatures.
Yes, Sir Arthur. That was the last question that I wished to raise. I understand that, we're doing this for the betterment of the community, and I, for one, have an invested interest in the advancement of medicine, obviously. But may I ask what your personal stake in all of this may be? I mean, it's not every day that a gentleman of your stature would walk off the street saying, I will fight this, let us call it a demon, if you wish.
A ghoul, I would go with.
Dr. Lyle, he took my sister from me. Is vengeance not reason enough to prevent other families from suffering as we have suffered?
Oh, I meant no disrespect. It is. Revenge is the word they cause. But I just want everything to be clear in the open that we are doing this for a specific reason and not something else.
I hide absolutely nothing from you. I aim to kill these creatures, any and all of them, to extinct their very kind.
May we keep one of them alive.
As long as it's not the one that killed my sister, I have no objection. As long as you can find some way to contain it.
I believe an autopsy would do just fine for you, Doctor.
I suppose we will cross that bridge when we reach it.
Yes. The doctor and professor will provide their unlimited brain power. My daughter has informed that Mr. Jones here is a man of excellent talents in the American style of martial combat.
I wouldn't quite call it. Well, I am, and I would just like to say that should I come across any of these creatures, it sounds as if I would put them all down.
And again, by fate, by happenstance, by good luck, a man who I have shared several adventures with also
going.
sits here.
Just keep going.
Murdoch, you've had enough.
No, just more expletives. Come on. Let's go.
I believe I have run out, sir. I apologize.
You all look at Murdoch. He just kind of big, toothy smile, and then like the backpack he almost never takes off. There's a crack and a smell of ozone, and like a little spark jumps across and hits Dr. Lyle right in the shoulder, makes him jump right out above his couch.
Great, sorry.
There's just smoke. You burned, shirt's burned and smoking a little bit.
So at this point, we need to
Not
do
gonna pay for that.
we need to do an interview. Find out everything that this survivor knows. It will not be easy, for it is most likely through a combination of his experience and time at Bedlam. His brain is most likely
Hers.
Oh, I apologize. I thought it was 3 men. Her brain is most likely...
Yeah, I didn't clarify that.
Okay. Most likely unreliable at this time. Bedlam is not kind to anyone who enters it, nor are the Nocturnus.
As long as she breathes, her brain can be analyzed. That shouldn't be a problem.
Excellent. And again, from that point on, we will find a location where this particular attack occurred, hunt these creatures, and exterminate. I will not lie to any of you. Danger is high. Death is probable. If anyone does not wish to participate either on the likelihood of death or this seems too outlandish for you, no hurt feelings, no qualms. You'll get a...
Dr. Lyle, as he's the tea that you have, he's pouring some clear liquid into the tea, and he's death is merely a stepping stone.
And at that moment, your manservant walks in as well and says, "Sir Arthur, I have a telegram here for Mr. Murdoch. It appears that he has already changed his address to your home." He hands you the telegraph, to which you got to hand it to Murdoch.
I wonder how that happened.
Mr. Murdoch, your telegram is here.
Excellent.
Would you mind?
It's unrelated to what you're doing now, but it does explain how you got to London. It's from your good new friend you made, a recent college graduate. His name is Nicola. You discussed theory late into the night and then got drunk and nonsense happened. Nikola Tesla, that's his last name.
That doesn't sound right.
Fascinating fellow. His ideas, earth-changing, earth-shaking.
Well, when I'm done with this, I have to check that out. All right.
So enjoy the tea, enjoy the biscuits.
Is there a little extra
Biscuits.
crunchy? You got
Biscuit.
Wait,
You know,
did,
You-
I thought you were serving cookies. I'd
What's a
like some.
cookie?
what did
Yes, Mr. Jones. Here we call
well-
these are biscuits.
Ah. Right.
You don't call them biscuits.
No.
No.
Cookies.
So you don't have biscuits in America?
No, we have biscuits. They're more like what you call them? Scones?
Oh, like a bobbit.
What?
Yes.
We have food
And that's where the
discussion.
camera will fade out.
Yeah.
Figure decipher. In the next session, we will immediately begin with you on the train to Bedlam.
Where nothing bad will happen.
no.
Absolutely not.
No.
Nothing
Totally
bad happens
nothing
on trains.
Bad
Mm.
on the way to a place called Bedlam. When hunting vampires. Correct, nothing bad. Viewers, we thank you for experiencing Chapter 1 of our Victorian Mage story, Skilamalink with us. We will return with Chapter 2 next Tuesday at 9 p.m. right here. If you enjoyed this show, we are Vorpal Tales, and we play terrifying tales and awesome adventures every day of the week on Twitch, specific to Mage. Join us every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern for our Mage Chronicle White Walls, or watch the videos on demand on YouTube to experience the entire Chronicle. You can find us at twitch.tv/VorpalTales. And you can learn all about us and how to connect with us, including social media and Discord, on our website, vorpaltales.com. Links will appear in chat momentarily. I knew I'd get Steve with that. Awakened, extraordinary, gentle beings, let the viewers know who you are one more time. The next place this week people can find you online.
Hello, my name is Rachel. You can find me Stolen Fires pretty much everywhere, mostly on Twitter and Instagram. As far as places you can find me, let's see. Wednesday I'm off. I'm normally on Plastic Age Plays, but we are every other week right now. Next time we're going to be doing Savage Worlds Rifts. It's going to be exciting. If you liked the Victorian aesthetic of this game, check back here at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, where I run a Victorian Changeling game. It's a lot of fun. I've got a great cast. And we are going toe-to-toe with the Order of Reason ourselves. Should be fun. And then I am also over on Vorpal Tales every Sunday night for White Walls. That's a lot of fun. It's a really cool game. You should come watch.
Hi, I'm at Space Lord PJs. You can catch me tomorrow playing, actually running Infinity by Modifius Entertainment. And then I'm also doing video games on Sunday. So check that out too. Sunday morning, Sizzling Bacon Survivals.
Valheim.
And yeah, we're doing Valheim, which I did last week, and it was fun as hell. So
Death by tree.
yeah, I died by a tree. So I'm going to end there. Died by a tree.
Did it like stick you through the heart or something? Like what?
I mean,
It
to
falls on you
discuss
and
it.
kills you.
God damn it, Tyler! I don't. you just made it. All right, now I look like a fool. It's fine.
He took the fun out
You
of it.
can also die by starting a campfire inside your house in asphyxiation. But carry on, Ever.
That was an interesting one. That was interesting.
Hey everybody, I have been playing Ethan Jones this evening. I am Ever, and my pronouns are they, them. Please do not forget. And you can find me on the internet as Changeling Ever, and you can find me on Etsy as Neat and Co Designs. Neat as in, hey, that's a really neat hat you got there, Ever. I will be seen once more Thursday evening for Black Void. I will have many eyes glued to my face. Very entertaining.
And I have been Steve. You can find me on the internet pretty much everywhere at Voodoo Arcade. Tonight I played author
That drop.
Wow, wow, wow.
I have played
Wow,
Sir
wow, wow, wow,
Arthur. You can find me next on Vorpal Tales Friday for Scarred Lands Draco Genesis.
I have been Joffrey Wellington. You can find me on Twitter at TrueKeysama, and on Thursdays, where I'll be playing Old Man Madara on Black Void.
And I am Dwayne at Made of Kimchi on the internet. Tonight I was playing Dr. Diarrhea Cures Insanity Lyle. And the next time you will see me will be Thursday running the next chapter in the pages of Black Void.
And last but certainly not least, go to Indiegogo. Check out this book. You should get it. I love it. It's so well written. It's so full of information. The Victorian era is real fun to play in. Get the hardcover. Get the jam screen. Get the bookmark. And then there'll definitely will be stretch goals. Go check it out now. The link just appeared in chat. And we'd like to thank you all once again for sharing this story with us. But until we return next week, you are going to need to be bricky and avoid the morbs. We promise our Gigamodes will be back next Tuesday. Until then, good evening to you all.
Bye.